Who would have thought a sporting event's halftime show could have a bigger impact than the game itself? Well, the Super Bowl halftime show does exactly that. In 2024, Usher brought in an audience of 180 million worldwide, the biggest ever in the event's history. But how did singing and dancing get to be the centerpiece of America's biggest sporting event? The first edition of the Super Bowl was held in 1967, when the Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Los Angeles. Because of the sheer size of the event, organisers wanted to put on entertainment at halftime for the fans in the stadium. It was a display of marching bands, dancers and pure USA patriotism, and that was the theme that followed for years. In the 1980s, the Walt Disney Company got involved and we started seeing some interesting and questionable displays. But we got our first glimpse of halftime shows to come in '93, when none other than Michael Jackson stunned fans with his 15-minute medley of his own smash hits. When he walked out on stage, he had to wait for the crowd's cheers to die down for about 2 minutes before even starting his first song. Diana Ross, Gloria Estefan, Phil Collins all starred in their own shows, as did Aerosmith, who performed alongside NSYNC. Things got a little bit out of hand in 2004 when Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson produced perhaps the most famous or infamous wardrobe malfunction in history. Shows from the likes of Prince, Lady Gaga and Beyoncé are considered by critics as the best. To give you an idea of the scale of things, Rihanna's 2023 halftime show included roughly 800 people. These ranged from backing dancers to stage crew to camera operatives broadcasting to millions around the world. The whole stage for that show was built in roughly 8 minutes and was broken down and cleared away in the same time. The acts perform for free nowadays, even though the experts reckon it costs around $13 million to put on Rihanna's show. Artists know they'll rocket up the charts in the following weeks. Rihanna's average sales improved by 140% in the months following her performance. The Super Bowl halftime show will be a fixture in pop culture for years to come. So the question is, who next?
Very good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 6 o'clock. Actually, I was sort of guessing that a moment or two ago because we're in the brand new studio now. I'm looking for the clock. Where's it gone? And it's a digital green blur in front of me. But it is 4 minutes past 6 o'clock. Very good morning. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with On the Clock. Build your own car deal online, or with a few clicks, they make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. Morning, Pods.
Morning, Jeff. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
What have you been up to? Managed to get any time away?
Yeah, I've been away. I've done a couple of things. We're still doing our show on a Sunday, me and Madge, which is going well. And just watching this transfer saga unfold.
Yeah. I got a little story. I was coming back from Portugal. You know, boys will be boys. So I'm on an EasyJet flight back from Portugal, and a couple of guys came to me and said, "Yeah, Jeff, can we have a photo?" I said, "Of course you can." He said, "Can my mate have a photo as well? He's in the front row." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Can he come back?" And he said, "No, he can't." He said, "Can you come up?" Went up there, and this poor guy's got his leg in a plaster cast.
Okay.
I had a bit of sympathy for him. Faded fast. 5 o'clock in the morning, okay, he's in bed in their shared villa. He's already had a kebab that night.
Okay, sounds like a boys' trip.
Yep, he decides that he needs another. So he creeps out of the villa, and so not to wake anybody, and probably not to let them know he's going for another kebab, he tries to climb the perimeter fence. Bang. Broken leg. Next couple of days, hospital in Faro, and oh man, you just couldn't.
So he had a double kebab of the leg, did he?
Yeah, he did, and worst of all was he had to explain to his girlfriend when he got home why he wouldn't be going away on holiday with her in 3 weeks' time.
Oh dear!
It's just your ultimate nightmare. Anyway, it was. Brilliant, and they were lovely lads, by the way, as well. Yeah. Absolutely lovely lads.
Good.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's in terms of transfer news, it's gossip all the way, isn't it?
Well, when it's big clubs making the moves, which is normal for the transfer window, those big clubs kind of set the tone for everybody else, and everybody else has to kind of sit patiently and wait for their time to dip in, so to speak.
By the way, if you're a Manchester United fan, you're waking up this morning talking of big clubs.
Yep.
You're very happy, aren't you? 4-1 win over Bournemouth in the States.
Absolutely.
They're going to be getting a bit excited, aren't they?
Well, I think so. And obviously the big transfer news this morning is about them again.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that materialises.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
If they go elsewhere.
If you're a Bournemouth fan on the other hand, you might be a little bit concerned, but it is only pre-season. It is still 4 weeks away. Yeah. In your managerial career, when did you ideally want to have your business done by? Did it matter if it was left until a couple of weeks before?
Well, it used to get, quite tense the summer transfer window because, the inactivity for the manager is frustrating and you're like you're on the owner's ear, you're in the technical director's ear, what's going on? You're not quite sure if the technical director is siding with the owner. You start getting conspiracy theories in your head that nothing's happening. Players are coming to you because they want new contracts. I'm talking about your own players, and may even want to move and are playing up slightly. You've got no one coming in. There's a sort of period of kind of negativity for that sort of mid-table, bottom half of the Premier League this period until, you can get a fresh face to come in. Yeah. Some clubs have been able to move, not significantly, but, moved here and there. Sunderland obviously have done quite a good big bit of business. So it's all very, very different. But, as a manager, you just want as soon as possible, you want the players because obviously you want to fit them into your regime and what you've got in place.
Interesting few weeks ahead. One player dominating the transfer window chat, though. Superstar striker from one of your old clubs in the northeast.
There's a ball over the top, and Isak's in on goal here. Cuts onto his right foot, going to pull the trigger now, and finds the bottom corner. Alexander Isak lights up St James's Park.
You're never going to replace him if you're us, because for me he's one of the world's best.
I mean, the Newcastle fans are not going to like this, but I would look at the situation and think, by the way, Liverpool are trying to conquer the world. If they sign Isak, they'll be favourites to win the Champions League.
He's better than Newcastle. He is, himself and Haaland, best strikers in the world.
Unfortunately for Newcastle, there's a food chain.
Eddie's done a wonderful job. The last thing you want to be doing is selling your best player.
The most rounded centre-forward in the world at the moment, Isak.
Are you going to find another Isak?
With a header, down to Isak, who's a second goal. It's another goal for Newcastle United.
It's an interesting situation, isn't it? Well, probably not if you're Eddie Howe at the moment. A real conundrum. What do? The player says he wants to move. You obviously want to keep him. It's just an impossible position, isn't it? Do you have to bow to the player's demands in the end, Alan?
Well, it depends how much he's playing up in training. Obviously they didn't take him on the tour, so it suggests that he's quite strong. And the feeling within the player. I think he tried to renegotiate a contract last summer, him and his agent, and it didn't go as well as perhaps they'd hoped. Maybe he's carrying some bad feeling about that. I think for Newcastle, it's a massive blow. And, when this Saudi Arabian ownership come in, I thought, financially, they would be able to palm anyone off.
Yeah. And
I think that was the sort of view of Newcastle fans at last now. We won't be losing our top players. Because obviously, when I was there a manager under Mike Ashley, we would lose players on a regular basis. Cabaye, Demba Ba, Papa Cisse. It was kind of normal behaviour because you just couldn't hold on if the big clubs come in. But, I genuinely think Newcastle fans didn't fear this. And so it's a kind of new worry for them. And can they replace him? That's when you look at the market for what Eddie has got left, it's going to be difficult. And obviously, you're trying to replace possibly the most rounded and best centre forward in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, not many out there. Just to touch on Isak again. Of course, everybody talks about the money, and I get that. Is it too idealistic to think, actually, as well, player in his peak, that what he really wants to do is go out and win Premier League titles and win Champions Leagues, and that plays a major part in his thinking rather than just the money.
Yes, but, I think Eddie will be going down the line of, what Leicester achieved and Newcastle in Champions League. They can make that final step, but we need to have players like you with us. And unfortunately, their best player is now, obviously trying to manoeuvre a move, which it looks like to Liverpool. Yeah. It looks like some contact has gone on. And that's always a frustrating for the club that owns the player. It's a difficult situation for Eddie, and obviously everything else that technical director, there's issues with some of the other players a little bit in terms of coming in. It's a difficult period. There's no doubt about that, and this needs to be resolved for them to move on.
Yeah. Well, the former Newcastle and Ballon d'Or winner Michael Owen joined the breakfast show yesterday morning, live from glorious Goodwood. He had his say on Isak's future.
Has football ever been any different? Certainly not in my generation. You get top players and, if a Berbatov or something came available at a Tottenham, then Manchester United used to buy them. If any decent player comes available, the big boys come and eventually, they move. And it is sad because you want competition in football. But, you put yourself in a player's point of view. If we didn't have, and I know people will say, you should stick to this and do that and whatever, but if you didn't have ambition, then football would be not. It's all about players. You've got one short career, trying to win as much as you can, trying to get to the best team, and that's what drives everybody. And people will say it's money, and it's not. A lot of people, most footballers just want to be in the best team, playing in the best competitions, winning the trophies, and unfortunately, this scenario will never ever change.
And it has a sort of domino effect as well, doesn't it, Alan? Because suddenly Benjamin Chesco is the best player in the world. Because everybody seems to want him, including Newcastle and apparently Manchester United.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of him, just see the stats, really.
Yeah. I've seen a little bit of him and I look at the stats of all the strikers that are available, and his length of time is not long. So you're kind of judging on a smaller period. Exactly. And that makes it more difficult, more of a risk. But he's the right size. He gets the right type of goals. When you look at his map, technically, he's got all the tools. So it's all credentials. But we've had that many, many times before of players who have been complete failures.
Yeah.
So, it's a slight risky one. Isak, when you look at what he's done in the Premier League, there is no risk. This is a sound buy. If someone wants to pay, reportedly £150 million for him, you're getting the real deal.
Yeah. Which might be an argument when it comes to the Manchester United debate about Chesco on one hand or Ollie Watkins on the other hand. One is the future, one is the present. But we'll talk about that more during the course of the next 3 3/4 hours. It is 6:14. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. Very good morning to you. 6:18. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling, the former West Ham manager. Alan Pardew is with me through until 10 o'clock. Jim, the West Ham fan, has texted, "Morning, Jim, where have you been? Haven't heard from you from weeks and weeks and weeks." And the reason that Jim is texting is he says, "Great to have a proper West Ham manager in the studio today. Huge win last night for the Hammers over Jeff's mate Moyes' team. Have a great show, lads." West Ham beating Everton 2-1 in the States last night. I know that David Moyes is a bit concerned about the lack of recruitment at Everton so far. I'm sure the same thing applies at West Ham as well, you know.
It does, yeah.
Morning, Jeff and Alan. I want to mention this one, actually. Ash, the Newcastle fan. Morning, Jeff and Alan. Spare a thought for Ronnie Moore, who announced yesterday that he has, I'll rephrase this a bit, he has blood cancer. Proper football man. I wish him and his family nothing but the very, very best. Now, Ronnie's a mate of mine. I texted him last night and he said, "Don't worry, Jeff, I've got this one beat." And that is typical of Ronnie
Good for
Moore.
Ronnie, yeah.
Yeah, he will never accept defeat in anything. He's just a brilliant, brilliant guy. And I think all of football, wishes him well. I know all of football wishes him well. Right, let's take a look at today's back pages with Chesco Mobile for Business.
The Back Page Review on talkSPORT with Chesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle baking bread? Improve your take-home dough with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
And Sam Quecker is with us. Hi, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah,
good to see you.
Thanks. Yeah. Alan's casting envious eyes over your jacket.
Yeah, I know. It's a military look, isn't it, with the patches?
Tell him he's too old for it.
I think he could pull it off. But it was one of those where my husband bought it online for himself, and it came as a kind of false advertising, and it came far too small for him. So I thought, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, a likely story. You mean you just nicked
Poached
it off him?
Yeah, I did.
Brilliant. So what have we got today? Is it all transfer news?
No. So we're going to move away from football first. We're going to start with cricket. Of course, Ben Stokes has injured his shoulder, and this headline, "I'll rise for the Ashes," has come out, and basically people are questioning his decision to pull out of the final test match today at Surrey against India, so he can do no further damage ahead of the winter, which of course is the Ashes in November. So I'm going to ask you really as well, being a massive cricket fan, and Alan, what's your take on it when you have a player who potentially could push through an injury, but you don't want to do further damage?
Well, I think he's already pushed through the injury. If you saw him bowl in the fourth test match, you thought, how can he be bowling? He couldn't move his arm apart from when he was actually delivering the ball. He was obviously in massive, massive pain.
Well, more test match won't hurt though, will it?
Well, I think it would probably hurt, I mean, look, England will miss him massively. He was our best bowler. He got a century. And he's what you as a football manager will always want, Alan. He is a proper leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I completely see the sense. Can't lose the series. And the Ashes 14 weeks away. Got to be fit for that from an England point of view.
Yeah, I mean the fact that it's 14 weeks ago suggests that he could possibly play, but I don't know how. You never know how serious it is. Yeah, it might be affecting him much more than he's given out. And like the medical team, like football, your medical team would come in and say he can't play. You got to leave him out, etc., etc. This could happen, that could happen. So, you get the warnings. And
I think that's key, isn't it? It has to come from, I think, a medical member of staff to say you're not playing. Because as a player, I've been in that situation before where you have an injury. I played a whole tournament on 2 broken ribs, which I found out after the fact. But actually, it did me more damage later on into the summer and missed out on a European tournament. So, I suppose that is the key, isn't it? Having a member of staff to say no. Because in the moment, especially, I can imagine Ben Stokes being
it's a good job nobody said no to Lucy Bronze then, isn't it?
Lucy Bronze, amazing. Yeah.
But I'm sure Ben Stokes, if he'd had the choice, he'd run through a brick wall. So I'm sure he would have played.
Yeah,
but sometimes, you have to look after people a bit. And I think the medical team said, didn't they, the risk-reward balance, it was a no-brainer. He shouldn't play. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully we'll see him anyway at the start of the Ashes over there in November. Okay, next up as well, back to football, not the Premier League as such. So Tom Brady, NFL 7-time Super Bowl winning champion and NFL legend Tom Brady has called out Wayne Rooney's work ethic. Now, This is a tough one for me, and I can imagine for you guys as well. If there's one thing you don't want to be called out for, it's not working hard enough. And this comes off the back of a new Amazon Prime documentary to be released tomorrow. And there's a clip of Tom Brady going away in the car and saying to his colleague, I quote, "I'm worried about the manager's work ethic," and it comes across as very lackadaisical. He says, Tom Brady, "I treated practice like I did the Super Bowl." And he says, "What's the difference between NFL and football? Nothing." Now, that sounds very... Go on, Alan.
Well, firstly, I've worked at NFL clubs. When I say worked, I've gone to sort of visit, and they're kind of the way they structure their day is so much more fuller than a pro football team. Their coverage of every individual, every group was, I have to say, probably in advance of football for many years. Premier League's caught up a little bit. I'm not so sure the Football League's caught up quite as much, or has the finances to kind of catch up. Bear in mind that in an AFL team you can live on site, you got all the facilities you can imagine. So I think Tom Brady's probably looked at it and thought, this looks a little bit unprofessional compared to what I'm used to. So the comparison between the two might be slightly part of that. And I think, I would give Wayne the slight benefit of the doubt on that front. But it's still something. This is typical when you get Amazon in your dressing room and they're following you around. These are their headlines that come out. And, that's why managers like to steer away from them.
Yeah.
And poor Wayne's, have to suffer this. And it's going to be viewed, it'll be on TV. It's not going to go away for a little while.
Yeah, lots of dangers in that edit suite, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Yes,
but
beauty of an edit.
People are going to.
And when managers move on, you're almost in, you're in bigger trouble because you're going to be edited not as quite as nicely as if you were still the manager.
Yeah.
So,
but is there really a correlation between training for the NFL and training for the Premier League, or as it was then, Championship League One?
The NFL for me, I'm a massive NFL fan, broadcaster and looking ahead as well. Tom Brady is a freak of nature. He doesn't win 7 Super Bowls with, again, one with Tampa Bay, a different team from New England, by accident. And I say freak of nature in a good way. He's obsessed. He trains like every session, every snap, every play is the Super Bowl. And that is what you want out of a player. So when it comes to the comparisons there, I think he does have a point. I think from our point of view as well, playing for the Olympics, we called it the gold standard. You have to do everything to a standard to what you're going to want to do on the pitch at the weekend or in the tournament. So I think he has a point there. Where I have to disagree is saying that the difference between NFL and football, there is none. It's a completely different sport. For NFL, you're playing over a period of 3, sometimes 4 hours. But actually, match play, each snap is only lasting a few seconds. Sometimes you'll just ground the ball and it's 5 seconds. So you have the opportunity to stop, regroup, and start again. Yeah. Football, it's so much more fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, and the endurance is obviously a massive part of football, and the injuries and and the kind of robust nature of it makes it, more injury prone when you're training at that level. So, sometimes training, you have to kind of tone it down. I just think that, when you talk about Tom Brady and you're saying he is a freak of nature and 7 Super Bowls suggest he is, you also got players in professional football who would come and see you as a manager on a regular basis, say, "Gaffer, we're not training hard enough." They want to train more. It's in their kind of mindset to want to do more. And you're kind of, look, we had the sports science team, you have to put all the figures in front of them and kind of say to them, look, just calm down, we're all right, But I think that's probably where that comes from. His work ethic is to such a high level that it's making Wayne's perhaps look not as high.
No, I feel sorry for Wayne because,
I do too.
He's a soft target, isn't he? You know, and I don't know what his ambitions are, whether he has any ambitions left in football management.
No, I'm pretty sure he has.
Well, headlines like that just do him no favours whatsoever.
Can you imagine Wayne Rooney going over to America and trying to tell Tom Brady how to train for NFL? It would be complete, they just brush him off. They say, go back to England. Yeah. So, got a feel for Wayne and the beauty of an edit suite, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody came out publicly and criticised any of our work ethic, well, actually, maybe not you, Pards, but then we would be upset, wouldn't we? That is for sure. Sam, thank you very much indeed. And that was a look at today's back pages with Tesco Mobile for Business.
The Back Page Review on talkSPORT with Chesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle baking bread? Improve your take-home dough with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
Griff from Kings Lynn has texted. He said, "Morning, lads. Got my days mixed up. Jeff on a Thursday with Pards, Silver Fox, and the old dog fox." I'm the old dog fox.
Blimey.
You know?
That's a bit harsh.
I thought it was a compliment, to be honest. To be honest, Alan. Thank you very much indeed, Griff. The Morning Boy says, "Pompey Adam, push through the Iron Man. Ben Stokes was in agony bowling in the last test, and he really, really was. I completely understand why he's not playing. Coming up, another test match, but of a different type this time because we're talking rugby union. The third test down under live and exclusive, of course, on talkSPORT. How many changes will the Lions make for that test? We'll find out next as we bring you the squad and reaction to it. That's next.
Corinthian Casuals are a team in the Combined Counties League Premier Division South. Despite that, they're one of the most important clubs in world football. Here's why. The club was formed in 1939 as the result of a merger between Corinthians FC and Casuals FC. Now, Corinthians FC were founded in the late 1800s when the FA's top brass were absolutely sick of getting pumped by Scotland every time they played them. As a result, Nicholas Lane Jackson set up an amateur side which would bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played consecutive games where Corinthians provided the entire England 11. But the thing is, the players refused to play professional football. They didn't believe in it. They wanted to spread the values of sportsmanship, competition, and played for the love of the game. It also helped most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money, but instead of entering league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. Think of it like the Harlem Globetrotters of football, and it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil, and the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest clubs in Brazil.
Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Man. Understanding the facts about urine leakage can help you manage it better. Find out more at tenorman.co.uk.
6:34 Thursday morning. It's the 31st of July, isn't it? Oh, there we go. You used to tell me that in front of me, but it doesn't anymore, so you've got to think a little while. 31st of July. Got a text from Phil in Broadstairs. He said, the Wayne Rooney debate's an interesting one. Unfortunately, first impressions will also have an impact. As a manager, visually compare Rooney to Ronaldo, who is slightly younger. The personal lifestyle of Rooney will have had an impact. If you can't look after yourself, it gives the wrong impression. Well, hey, Phil, I don't know how I've survived for so long, you know? I think that's a bit harsh if you're going on sort of personal appearances as well. Got nothing to do with your ability as a manager or otherwise. Third test match coming up this weekend. Of course, it's in Sydney. Been a bit of speculation about what the Lions' starting 15 might look like. Let's find out because it's just been named. We're joined by our rugby union reporter, Alfie Reynolds. Morning, Alfie.
Morning, Jeff.
Look, there was a lot of talk, Alfie, about wholesale changes, but I don't think that's the case.
No, not at all. 2 changes for Andy Farrell for his starting 15 to take on the Wallabies in the third and final test match in Sydney this weekend. James Ryan comes into the second row. That means Ollie Chesham goes back to the bench and James Lowe drops out of the 23 entirely. Blair Kinghorn comes onto the wing and there's a place for Ben Earl on the bench. A 6-2 bench split between forwards and backs for the Lions. So Ben Earl is given another opportunity. And as you say, Jeff, a strong team. And there's no surprise, really. I mean, the Lions have spoken this week about wanting to win 3-0. It's something they haven't done in a series against the Southern Hemisphere opposition for almost a century. They have the history books in their sights. And so no real shock that Andy Farrell has gone with a very, very strong side.
Yeah, obviously they do. I mean, there was a lot of talk about whitewashing, and that was seen as being dangerous before the tour, but it's a reality now. But I just wonder about the Australian perspective as well now, Alfie, because they must have obviously bitterly disappointed by the outcome of the second test, but they must have taken real heart, real encouragement from their performance and think they can stop that whitewash.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting one from an Australian perspective, isn't it? Because the series is done. They've lost the first 2 games. They can't win the series. But I would imagine it's a pretty big motivation to not get whitewashed. As I say, it's almost a century. 1927, the last time it happened. They would go in the history books for all of the wrong reasons if it was to happen to them on home soil. And as you say, for 50 minutes in that second test in Melbourne, what a game, by the way, last weekend that we had on talkSPORT. For 50 minutes, they were right in it. They were in the lead. They tested the Lions. They caused them problems. So are they particularly dejected and downbeat because they lost the series? Well, maybe. But as I say, I think the motivation for them is going to be pretty clear. They do not want to end this series on home soil, having lost all 3 test matches. So despite the fact the series is over, I think we're going to be in store for another great game.
Alfie, what's Australia named the same team?
No, not quite the same team. They have made a few changes. There are a couple of injuries in there as well. So in the front row, Alan he's injured. That's a big loss. Taniela Tupou comes in his place. Rob Valentini as well, who was unbelievable in Melbourne, got replaced at half-time. He has been struggling with fitness. He's absent as well. So I look at the Australia team. We know that they can cause the Lions problems. I do look at those two absentees and worry for them a little bit. A great story for the Wallabies, though. Nick White, who's starting scrum half in this game, is playing his final test match for Australia. Fans in the English Premiership will know him well. He was at Exeter for a number of years, a really popular figure. 73rd test match for Australia. His last one is going to be facing the Lions. So a pretty special moment for him. But I do look at that Australia team and you still think they can cause the Lions problems. Are they going to be able to cause them enough problems over the course of the full 80 minutes?
Oh, and it's interesting. That second test was absolutely brilliant, Alfie. Without being negative, if England were to lose in Sydney, how would this tour be regarded?
Do you know what, Jeff? It's really fun. It's why I think it's so important that the Lions win the series 3-0, because most Lions team, if you win a test series, you're remembered, right? I think if they weren't to win it 3-0 through no fault of their own, I think the context and what people would point towards would be this is the worst opposition the Lions have faced in the professional era, which, as harsh as that sounds on the Wallabies, I think is pretty undeniable. When you look at the All Blacks teams and the Springboks teams that the Lions have regularly faced that have been world champions or one of the best teams in the world, or even Australia, if you go back to 2001, that team that had won the World Cup were about to get to another World Cup final. This Wallabies team is not that. So I think that's why the Lions are so motivated to win 3-0, because I think they realise almost what will be thrown at them if they don't. They want there to be no doubts that they have come here and done the job. And I do think in terms of the series, I obviously want the Lions to win the series. I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get a decider just because of the drama that would have given us if Australia had held on in that second test.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it's still on the line in terms of history here. That means something to both of these teams. So, and as I say, I think that is why the Lions are simply so motivated to win 3-0 because of what will be thrown at them if they don't.
I just want a quick word about one particular Lion for whom this tour has turned out to be a bitterly disappointing one, and that's Gary Ringrose. Just due to injury, he's going to miss out on the lot.
Yeah, I know, and we spoke about it last week. So he was originally named in the team to play in the second test. He missed the first test because he had a head injury and had to go through the return to play protocols, was due to start in the second test and actually removed himself from the team, saying to Andy Fowler, I've picked up something in training here, I don't feel right. Unbelievably selfless act, really. Absolutely the right thing. We know all about brain injuries and the concerns there and what rugby's going through in terms of on the legal side of things. So the right thing to happen, but I'd imagine it'd been really easy for Gary Ringrose to kind of keep quiet there and, think I could play a Lions test. This is historic. There's a good chance now that he might never play for the Lions in a test match. And yeah, bitterly disappointing tour for him. I think he should be massively commended for the way in which he conducted himself around the second test. Had all been well and his fitness been okay, there's a brilliant chance we would have seen him in every single test match. So it goes that way, doesn't it, on Lions tours? Some players kind of miss out. You look at Jack Conan on the flip side, by the way, who is due to start his 6th straight test match for the Lions. He started all 3 in South Africa 4 years ago. He's going to start all 3 in Australia, but he doesn't start for his country Ireland because Caelan Doris starts in front of him, but Doris picked up an injury that ruled him out of the whole tour. So injuries can be a funny thing. Certainly feel for Gary Ringrose.
Yeah, real self-sacrifice from Gary Ringrose. Alfie, thanks very much indeed.
Cheers, thanks, gents. Good to speak to you.
And that was thanks to Tenor Men.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Man. Understanding the facts about urine leakage can help you manage it better. Find out more at tenorman.co.uk.
Inevitably, of course, a lot of transfer gossip around this morning. Manchester United being linked with the likes of Benjamin Sesko and Ollie Watkins. Yesterday, speaking to Adi Oladipo and Simon Jordan, former Premier League boss Martin O'Neill said no matter what their situation, players don't say no to Manchester United.
It depends whether players, this is my view, it depends whether players know the history of football clubs. You know, you're talking about young people coming in now who might not even know the history of the football club that they're involved with, you know. And I'm not saying they have to read every single book about it, but you have to have some sort of a feel. Manchester United still command that feel. I will dispute that with anybody. They still command that feel. It's Manchester United. They're massive. And if I was a player now, somebody give me this opportunity and said, oh, listen, Manchester United will be 3 years before they're in the Champions League again. it wouldn't matter one hoot.
I'm not sure about that, to be honest, but players not saying no to Manchester United. Well, Victor Xhaka has said no to Manchester United for a start, so that's one off the top of my head. It must matter to players, you know, if they're not going to win anything for 3 or 4 years, if that is the case at Manchester United.
I mean, if you was a player in the last sort of 3-4 years looking at Manchester United, you wouldn't, assume that you're going to win trophies on a regular basis of what's happened. But, with Amarin going in there, this new look, the way they've kind of put to one side certain players in the dressing room that they're trying to correct, that kind of work ethic and everything else that was going on there. I think it's a positive place. I think if I was an agent, I would be looking at it a little bit more positive than I looked at it last year. Let's put it that way. But would Watkins want to go there? I think Ollie Watkins wants to go from Villa. I think, that European situation last year when he was left out, particularly from Marcus Rashford when he was on loan into Villa, I think that would have hurt him, and I think that would have put a wedge between him and the manager that might actually not be removable. Sometimes you can make up again and kind of get a bond back to a player, and I think I'm not so sure that's happened there. And I think Ollie will go this window, but whether he goes to United might depend on where Chesco goes.
Yeah.
But Martin has a point, I suppose, about Man United. They are still kind of in that echelon of, thoughts.
But I would argue that they can't anymore attract the absolute creme de la creme. If you're like, time will tell.
Yeah.
Interesting, Luke Shaw saying this week that it had been toxic at Manchester United, but now the atmosphere was better than it had been for a long time.
He wants to play.
Well, yeah.
So he's going to say that.
That would be a result for Manchester United and their fans as well.
If he could stay fit, wow, he's had a terrible, terrible run of fitness.
He certainly has. And Manchester United's pre-season results, of course, will leave their fans buoyant. Now, still to come on breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. Find everything you need for your landscaping project in stock and available for delivery. Terms and conditions apply.
If you backed the favourite in the Sussex Stakes yesterday, you won't want to hear this. For the rest of you, this is how a 150-1 winner sounds.
Fielder goes, Bumble may have first, and Henri Matisse on the far side is flying. Brazilian, but it's Kirat, the outsider, who's going to steal if Brazilian gets there. That is a shocker.
151 winner Kirat, the longest priced winner ever of a Group 1 race in England or Ireland. A glorious Goodwood yesterday. Rupert Bell will join us with more a little later. And with the EFL returning this weekend, we want to hear from fans of the Football League on why they prefer it. No VAR, cheaper tickets. Premier League fans, does that sound appealing? It's an absolutely brilliant contest as well, right throughout all of the divisions. I'll include the National League in that. Call or WhatsApp us on 03717 223344. All that and more to come. And that was our look ahead with Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. Join the club and get low trade prices. Find out more at travisperkins.co.uk or download the app.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me, 6:50 on Thursday the 31st of July. EFL fans swiftly on to the text after our little touch on what the EFL was going to be like this season. Mark, the Bolton fan, says the EFL is much more authentic and real, no VAR. Many of the fans of teams are from that particular city or town. A pie and a watered-down lager, happy days. Come on, Bolton, he says. And Trev from Plymouth says, I don't want VAR in the EFL. If Plymouth are going to get relegated, I want us to get relegated the old-fashioned way. You got your wish, Trev. Anyway, now let me get back to my pasty, he says. Oh, that's great. We're going to hear a lot of...
Early for a pasty.
Not if you're from Plymouth.
Okay.
It's breakfast.
It's
That'd be perfect breakfast, isn't
breakfast,
it?
lunch and dinner.
Absolutely. Get yourself down to Greg's or any other shop serving pasties and that sort of stuff. Thank you very much indeed for that, Trev. Right, now, about this story that's emerged. Burnley fans will be able to take a seat at Turf Moor for next week's friendly with Lazio without leaving their own homes. The Clarets will become the first football club in the world to present the game in virtual reality. Fans can wear headsets that transport them directly to Turf Moor, regardless of where they are. Bear in mind, of course, you still have to buy a virtual ticket. You still have to have a headset as well, by the way. Let's get more on this from Burnley fan and host of the No Nay Never podcast, Natalie Bromley. Morning, Natalie.
Good morning, how are we?
Yeah, we're fine. And my first thought when I heard about this was, oh my God, surely not.
I think that's probably right. And I think my first thought was, if you lined up like all the fans in the world and asked them to name the first football club that would be trialling this, I think Burnley would probably be the lowest on the list. It's the most un-Burnley thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah, what a world we live in, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. It's not for me from a personal level. I'm still very much old school and I enjoy the live experience at the ground with my dad and, you know, the same people that you've always sat with your ticket with. But we have to embrace the fact that there's a new generation who consume football in a different way than we did. And if you want to keep evolving and you want to stay relevant and you want to progress the game in a new way for a next generation of football fan, then you need to embrace this.
Natalie, it's a gimmick, isn't it? That's all it is. Because you need the headset. You know, I'll be fascinated to know what sort of uptake they get on this. Have you got a virtual reality headset?
I haven't. No, I haven't purchased one yet. And the fact that Burnley games are now being on them, maybe I will.
Yeah. See, Burnley say it places them at the forefront of fan engagement. Oh, I think it's completely the opposite. Because there is no fan engagement. They're not at the ground. How can there be fan engagement?
I agree with that, but then it does elevate those fans who we are trying to appeal to a more international audience. We are trying to grow Burnley's brand. When you are in the Premier League and you're competing with teams that are owned by foreign investment and they have image rights across the world, and you don't have the revenue coming in that maybe other teams are able to generate, what do you do if you don't try something like this? So if you've got fans who genuinely can't get to Turf Moor and be part of that live match day experience, would those fans rather sit and listen to it on the radio, or would they rather be part of an immersive VR experience and actually see the game and have something visual? We know from social media that visual content is how our next generation consume their entertainment. So I guess I kind of look at it that way and think, well, it's just elevating that experience for people who would otherwise only be able to rely on audio or maybe, you know, refreshing social media feeds for updates.
I mean, my suggestion would be that I can see it, as you say, with the new supporter, etc., etc. Maybe they should just do a highlights section rather than a live game.
Highlights of the Burnley pre-season friendly. I'm sure there'd be a huge uptake for that.
Yeah. Well, look, never mind virtual reality, Natalie. Let's get back to reality.
Yes.
How much are you looking forward to Burnley being back in the Premier League?
Not at all. Not at all. I've been very vocal on this. I've very much got a love-hate relationship with the Premier League. I very much enjoy the finances and the global exposure and the business opportunities to generate revenue that the Premier League brings. But ultimately, it's an incredibly challenging league. You are, as a sports fan, you want to be competitive and you want to be able to enjoy. It's an entertainment sport as well as a result sport. I don't enjoy 80% of the games being potentially unwinnable or having to scrap for every single Effectively, you're trying to compete to be the third worst, team in the league, and it's, as we've seen from previous 2 seasons, the newly promoted sides tend to go straight back down. You don't have the financial ability to compete. As I mentioned before, I'm very much a live experience fan, and the biggie for me is having to put up with football with VAR. I'm sick of having this conversation every single season, and nothing ever changes. We are persistently put in a situation where the live fan experience has been ruined, the decisions take too long, the autonomy for decision making for referees has been taken away from them. It's not used within the parameters that we're told it's been used. I mean, do any of us actually know what a clear and obvious error is anymore? And all that's happened is autonomy for a subjective decision has been diverted from the referee live on the pitch to a referee sat behind a television screen miles away from the pitch with 100 more justifications for a wrong decision. So that for me is the biggie. And I think until, and again, how many times have we had this conversation? Every single season. And decisions are still consistently wrong and getting more and more bizarre as the justifications get more and more creative. So that aspect of it, I'm not looking forward to it at all. I think we're striving for a technically perfect televised sport for a global TV audience, and that's not the football that I particularly enjoy consuming. So I very much take with it the positives that come from Premier League football, and I will enjoy watching the big teams playing the fantastic players at Turf Moor. But ultimately, as a fan, it's a challenging season.
Yeah. Natalie, let's hope you enjoy the season more than you think you're going to.
I will.
Thanks very much indeed. A couple of interesting texts as well about the virtual reality football. And Alan from Hamilton makes a good point. He says virtual reality football will be fantastic for people who can't leave home, the disabled folk or elderly. And Bradley, who's a Man City fan, says virtual reality, I hate technology, a great idea. You can watch it absolutely anywhere. He said also some people with disabilities or mental health issues that may not be able to attend can do so as well. So well done, Burnley. And I do take those points on board. I would say, though, that if you have got mental health issues or you are elderly, sometimes going to a football match is a massive outlet for you, that you can be there and be with other people and be in some sort of normality. But I do completely accept that if you are in a situation where you can't leave home, it might well be a bonus. Look, fans across the EFL, we're asking you to get in touch this morning. How excited are you for the new season returning? It starts again on August the 1st. I mean, unthinkable, August the 1st. Give us a call, send us WhatsApp voice note, 03717 223344. How happy are you that your team's not in the Premier League? Here's one from our resident Southampton fan, Kane Reeves.
Forget about the Premier League. It's full of elitists and it's all about the money. The real football happens in the EFL. I don't want to be sitting on padded seats at the Emirates spending £9.50 on a mocha chocolate. I want to be going to real grounds like Oxford United, where they're still missing a stand, or Fratton Park, where it's falling down, or even that cold Wednesday night in Stoke. That is real football. And the thing I'm most looking forward to is no VAR. So yeah, enjoy your 15-minute delays, looking to see whether the ball hit his fingernail 10 minutes before the ball actually went into the back of the net. We'll be getting on with the game in the Championship and celebrating goals. So up the Saints and up the EFL.
And we give Kane 30 seconds and he cannot help himself but have a snide dig at Portsmouth and falling down Fratton Park. He got it in. And I want to know how much the mocha chocolates are at St Mary's. And I would imagine they're about the same sort of price.
I would suspect that.
As well. And they've certainly got padded seats there too. So don't give us all that, Kane. But you're absolutely right. The EFL is brilliant. It's often your hometown club. It's a club that's been passed down maybe from your dad or something like that, and you become a supporter. And they are the heartbeat of those communities. And Morecambe fans will tell you about how important it is that we keep that heartbeat beating as strongly as possible. It is 6:59. Coming up, is Benjamin Chesco the new number 9 for United? If so, what tour player are they going to be getting? We'll find out next.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, weighing up the risk-reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put myself, I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players at risk with an injury like this.
Remember, England are 2-1 up, heading into that crucial test at the Oval. We'll be bringing you live updates throughout the day. And 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and the co-owner of Birmingham City spoken exclusively to talkSPORT ahead of the championship season. In that wide-ranging interview with Troy Deeney, he opened up on Wayne Rooney's time at the club.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for Wayne and what he accomplished. He's one of the biggest players that's ever been on a pitch. And at the same time, I have very high expectations for what leadership looks like. And I really felt like in the time that I had that, we have to give everything we can to the players in terms of our time and energy and our commitment to seeing them succeed.
And for all the latest breaking sporting news, head to our website at talksport.com.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with the Arnold Clark app. Buy a car and opt in to Arnold Clark Rewards to enjoy access to great giveaways and everyday perks. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with us today as well. On the way for you this morning, we'll build up the return of the EFL starting tomorrow night live on talkSPORT, August the 1st. Can't believe it's kicking off so early. Bradford City manager Graeme Alexander and the AFC Wimbledon boss Johnny Jackson will both join the show. The fifth and final test match of this epic series between England and India gets underway this morning at the Oval. England are currently 2-1 up, of course. Former England head coach, legendary broadcaster David Bumble Lloyd will be joining the show. And as the Lions tour of Australia comes to a close with the third and final test in Sydney on Saturday, live on talkSPORT, former British Lion Ben Kay will join us to preview the game as the Lions seek to make a spot of history. Pre-season in full swing, though, in footballing terms. A number of Premier League clubs tours to different parts of the world. Arsenal face Spurs, would you believe, in Hong Kong this afternoon. West Ham beat Everton in the early hours of the morning in the States. Manchester United having a great pre-season, aren't they? They beat Bournemouth by 4-1. Liverpool strode to a comfortable 3-1 win in Japan over Yokohama. Alan, what makes a good pre-season? Is it all down to results, or is it getting through without injuries?
Yeah, the most important thing is that everybody is fit and ready to start the season. So injuries is definitely top of the agenda. In terms of putting some strategies in place, having different phases of play and working things out, having a look at some experimental kind of stuff on set plays and some defensive work. All that is part of pre-season. But most importantly is the group that is bonding, that it looks like it's coming together. You haven't got upset in the camp. And that's why, when you look at Man United, still got the 5 players, not working, well, 4 now, with the team. That's a worry. Newcastle with the Isak situation, with him not training with the team, that's the concern. So, there are, as you can see, there are some problems arising, which it does in the Premier League. But most importantly for managers is actually really kind of getting the group together and bonding, and that's the key.
You ever had a pre-season that didn't go to plan?
Oh, well, I had a mid-season break that was an absolute disaster. Most of my pre-seasons went quite well, but you always have, unfortunately, incidents that don't work so well. I remember, when I was playing at Crystal Palace, when I was a player, the guy who was introducing the game in a very, very wet Swedish afternoon got hit by lightning. I mean, it was like, wow, Fortunately, he was okay. He wore the right type of shoes. There's all sorts of things, and everyone's in weird and wonderful places now, aren't they? You're out in China and Japan and everywhere, particularly America.
So what was the mid-season disaster?
Sorry, the mid-season disaster was on West Brom when we had the incident with the, unfortunately, 4 of my young players, or elderly players, I should say, or senior players, took a taxi drive, which didn't work out particularly well.
Right. I've heard that on 1 or 2 different occasions from different clubs involving different players as well. So you're not alone.
No. And, it's always, when you have, when you say bonding, you're going to have nights out. And unfortunately, it's the nights out when managers have, you're like, fingers crossed it all goes well, that the alcohol is consumed in the right way. It's only a couple. Unfortunately, you lose track somewhere along the line. And, I used to ban all sorts of stuff, shots and wine, and, stick to the beer, and, it never kind of works. Someone always twists the rules. Yeah.
Trials and tribulations of being a football manager before the season starts. Yeah. Now, one of the hottest prospects in Europe at the moment is Benjamin Chesco. Looks like Newcastle and Manchester United are going head-to-head for his signature. It'll cost in excess of £60 million, that is for sure, maybe closer to 70 million. Let's get more on Chesco and where he could end up. Let's cross over to our European football expert, Kevin Hatchard. Morning, Kev.
Morning, guys. How are we?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. Look, people here will, and I haven't seen much of Chesco at all, I'll be brutally honest with you, just glimpses in the Champions League, Kev, no more than that. People will look at his stats and think 14 Bundesliga goals a couple of seasons ago, 13 last season, not absolutely what you would call prolific. Tell us about the attributes that he's got.
Yeah, I think just to address that first, I mean, it's a good point about the fact that if you compare him to somebody like Gyökeres, for example, he isn't scoring in volume, but what he did last season was he scored a decent amount of goals for what was a really poor team. I mean, Leipzig didn't qualify for Europe for the first time in their short history. They were awful in the Champions League, and yet he was still affecting games. He was still scoring goals. So I think that's a bit of a positive. In terms of the attributes, he's quite unusual in the sense that he's tall, he's like 6'5", but he's quick as well. He strikes the ball incredibly well. And he's prepared to do the unexpected. I remember commentating on a game against Bayern quite late in the season. And there was a moment when he got played through by Xavi. And the goalkeeper was a long, long way from his line. And a lot of players would have looked to lift the ball over him. And he actually thought, no, I can hit this with power with the outside of my boot. And he was able to bend it round the goalkeeper, Jonas Urbich, and into the net. And that's the kind of unusual thing he's capable of. He's got great technique. He's rough around the edges, but I think there's definitely a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at his stats in terms of all the other aspects of his game. And actually, his endurance, his work rate, and his ability to kind of defend, actually, from the front and pressurise the ball is actually very, very good. I mean, for a big, tall guy, that's unusual. So that bodes well. You know, I think his link play on his stats, he looks average to poor, if I'm honest. But that might be because he's so young. But you know, he definitely is a talent. And I think the Bundesliga is one of those leagues that I took Papa Cisse out of there, and a similar kind of season he'd had as Chesco. I think it's a good barometer for the Premier League, actually. If you can do well in that league, usually you can transfer to the Premier League. And I think the hopes are good for him. The fee is obviously elevated because it's a Premier League club coming in. I mean, was there any German interest in him, out of interest?
I think if you look at Germany, there's few clubs that would actually make that move because they don't necessarily have the finance. I mean, if you look at Leverkusen, they probably have got that money, but they already have Patrick Schick, already have Boniface. It's not an area they'd look to improve. Dortmund have got Seru Girassi, and you're kind of struggling then in terms of clubs that could really kind of part with that kind of finance. So I think it was always likely to be a Premier League club that he went to. Just on that pressing point, that's very Leipzig in the sense that you don't press, you don't play. So he's had that drilled into him, not only at Leipzig, but if you think before that at Salzburg, who play a very similar way without the ball. So what you tend to find is the players that come from the Bundesliga in general, but certainly Leipzig specifically, do have that kind of press drilled into them. And that's been very much the case with Florian Wirtz at Liverpool as well. I imagine one of the things that appealed to them was the fact that Wirtz was so aggressive without the ball.
Brilliant. Kev, thanks very much indeed.
Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Benjamin Chesco, just 22 years of age. If he goes to Manchester United, there will inevitably be comparisons with Rasmus Højlund, which is probably a bit unfair, but he's quick.
But where does it leave him? You know,
6'5".
it's Højlund, you know, it leaves him in a terrible position because obviously he's not had a successful first year. It means that this guy's probably going to come in front of him, and therefore, you know, how does he stagnate? Where does he go? Do they move him on? Or do they say, oh, well, you're going to have to battle for the place? And I think that's very hard to have two young players battling for a Premier League number 9 jersey. It's different if you've got an experienced player and a young player, and they can vie and you can choose between the two and have a different flavour. But I think that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and of course they've already brought in Brandon Momo as well. Great times if you're a Manchester United fan, and it's a while since we've said that.
Yeah, I mean, attacking wise, they're looking a lot better already, and you know, I think they've made some good purchases. You know, and Mbubu from Brentford is an absolute great signing. Defensively, you still got to worry about them.
Big thanks to our European football expert Kevin Hatchard. They're up next. We'll find out how Alan reacted when one of his players turned up half an hour late for a game. Good morning to you. It is very nearly 20 past 7, Thursday, the 31st of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with me. Now, Alan, Darren Ambrose played for you while you were managing Charlton back in the mid-2000s. Darren was on the Sports Bar last night. He told a story about a game against Millwall.
Apparently.
Oh, and unfortunately, we're going to be left in limbo. Do you know the story?
No, got no idea.
Oh, well, now we can hear from Darren.
There we go.
I once was late. There was an accident on the road, and I never, when I was playing for Charlton, never went to the M25 way. But for some reason, I decided to go the M25 way, and I got stuck in traffic. We was playing Millwall. Our very own Alan Pardew was the manager of Charlton, and I turned up at half time of the match, and I was starting the game. There was a point where I was liaising with Alan Pardew, and he said, "Look, I'll try and get a police escort out to come and get you because you're starting the game." Couldn't get through. The police escort couldn't get through. So eventually I turned up at half time.
They were really going to send a police escort?
Yeah, they tried.
You were that important?
Yeah, I was that important. They tried. It wouldn't have made a difference. We lost a Millwall anyway. It wouldn't have made no difference at all. But yeah, that wasn't nice. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to get ridiculous fine. But he said it had happened to him before, Alan Pardew, so he never fined me.
Come on, what were you really thinking?
Well, Darren, listen, Darren was a very, very good pro. So let's put that at the top of the equation. He wasn't a continued offender. So, he was definitely a player that I would kind of give some leeway to. Turning up at half time, a player doesn't mean, obviously he's got in a situation where it's probably out of his control. I don't remember trying to get the police to get him, though. I don't think I was that desperate. I think we probably had some replacements, but yeah. I mean, I remember Zaha as well once coming in like 10 minutes. And Zaha was much more important than Darren at that particular time for Crystal Palace, and we waited, and eventually got him stripped quickly, got him on there, got him out there. But yeah, many times players are late. It's different. On a training day, you don't expect on match days to ever be late. So I don't know what happened there, Darren. Come on, mate.
Yeah. So there you are, Darren. There was no problem getting a police escort for Wilf Zaha. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah. We got Wilf there, yeah.
Football back this weekend. The EFL returning, full set of fixtures in League 1 and League 2. I can't believe how early it is. August the 1st, and football is back. You can hear live coverage, of course, across the talkSPORT network of all the games. Commentary on talkSPORT 2. On Friday evening, first match, good one as well. Luton host Wimbledon, 2 divisions between them last season. Bradford take on Wickham on talkSPORT 2 at 3 o'clock on Saturday in the club's first League 1 season in 6 years after promotion. And I'm delighted to say that the Bradford City boss, Graeme Alexander, joins us now. Morning, Graeme.
Good morning, gents.
Morning, Graeme.
Hey, Graeme, things couldn't be going better, could they? Just signed a new 3-year deal, back up into League 1. And plenty of big names had tried to take this club back to League 1 before you. So it goes without saying you've enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, it's 20 months. We joined halfway through the previous season. And when they were 18th in League 2, we finished within a point of the playoffs the season before. So it gave us a lot of hope and optimism, which sort of gives you a bit of confidence going into the summer to recruit for what you want to do. And then obviously we managed to get over the line 50 or 40 seconds with the last game to go in amazing fashion in front of 24,000 at Valley Parade. It couldn't have happened in a better fashion. We deserved it because Alan will tell you, if you're in the top 3 after 46 games, then you've done a lot of things right. And but to do it in that fashion and in the year, which was a big year for the club, it was the 40th anniversary of the 1985 fire, and so it was a special occasion for everyone, and we were delighted to be a part of it.
Graeme, unfortunately, the new season has arrived. When you're on the back of a great season, you just want to continue that summer. But now, obviously, the new season is going to start. You've got a new challenge. How's your recruitment gone? Are you happy? Do you need to do a bit more? Where do you think you are?
Yeah, I think every season you need to improve either way. You know, if we'd have stayed in League Two, we'd have obviously failed in our objectives, so we'd have had to improve. But going up into League One, we felt we had to, try and improve the squad as a whole, improve the team. The players have done a fantastic job last season in winning promotion, and an unbelievable group to work with the challenges we faced. But you have to put your sort of experienced head on as a manager and look ahead at the challenge, what's coming. And we brought in, I think, 9 new players to go with the players we retained. We feel we probably need 1, maybe 2 more to give us that sort of strength in depth for the challenge ahead, at least until January, when we can affect the recruitment again. But I'm really happy with the squad we have right now. But it's our responsibility to try and improve it all the way up to the end of the window.
I mean, I looked at some of the names. There was plenty of experience there. Stephen Humphreys and Curtis Tilt, Max Power. But you mentioned that crowd, by the way, Graeme. 24,000 for that last game of the season. I think it was against Fleetwood, wasn't it? People who are Premier League football fans probably aren't aware that Bradford City get 20,000 or 20,000 plus on a regular basis. It's an absolutely fantastic achievement. I mean, partly down to the ticket pricing, which is maybe something that other clubs should take a look at. Some games during the course of the season are a £5 to get in. Yeah. And it must be fantastic to play in front of crowds like that, Graeme, or manage with crowds like that.
Yeah, I think it's something that I don't know if the players in previous times have struggled with, the expectation from that support. And I think in League Two the away form was always better than the home form in all the other seasons. So we had to work a lot, the previous summer, on trying to change the mentality of the players and to enjoy that, that pressure and enjoy that environment. Who doesn't dream of, when you're 8 years old, playing in front of full crowds? That's the reality, and it was quite unique in League Two. So I think we won 17 home games last season. I think by February, March, I think they are really affordable prices as season tickets. But we do have the fan base there, so why not invite them? Why not encourage them to come in their numbers, and then obviously give them a team that they can get behind? And the 24,000, that had probably been the 4th or 5th time that we got up to that that crowd. I think it was actually higher than the crowd that Bradford had when they were in the Premier League 20 years ago. So I think most supporters just want to see the team play well. I heard the Burnley supporter, on previously, and I played for Burnley, and that love-hate relationship. They win a lot in the Championship, and then it's a difficult time in the Premier League. But we want to bring success, and it was a fantastic occasion. I think the supporters really believe in their team. It's going to be a really challenging season ahead, but we're going to attack it in the same way we attack League Two. I don't see any reason to hold back when you go into a game of football.
Yeah, I mean, what's your team's strengths, Graeme? What would you say is the format of what you're about at the moment? This Bradford team, what is it?
We're a very aggressive team, as in the pressing side of it. Our data on that side of it was one of the highest in League Two and in the EFL. I think I want a team. I like to play that way myself. I always like to look at my team and ask myself, would I like to play in it? And I wanted to take the game to the opponent. I wanted to pass the ball forward. I wanted to try and create goals, and I wanted to see my team play in the same fashion. And I believe that the Bradford fans want to see the same. So whoever we're up against, we played in the previous year and a half, we've played 7 League One clubs in cup competitions and beat 5 of them. We just go toe-to-toe with everybody. We beat Middlesbrough in pre-season last week. Strong team. I just don't want us to go onto a pitch feeling second best to anybody. Now, we know we can lose games. Every team does. But I know I like to go onto a pitch where my manager believed in me and trusted me and backed me more than the opponent. And I want my players to feel that. So we're very aggressive in possession as well. We want to commit bodies forward. We play through the team. We play some great football, but we're always with the purpose of attacking the goal. It's a fast-paced game. We're not at the same level, but I loved watching, Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool and how, positive they were in all their actions. And, that's a little bit of a target of mine, obviously at a different level.
Well, all those attributes you were talking about as a player, those are the reasons that Alan Pardew wanted to sign you more than once. But I think that's a story for another day, Graeme, anyway. Yeah, look, all I can say, very best of luck to you right throughout the course of the season. You've got some fantastic support. It's a great place to go to. So best of luck, Graeme.
Yeah, and if his team play like how he played, then they'd be good to watch.
Well, it's funny you say that just quickly. I'll still remember when I made my 1,000th appearance as a player, and Alan, who I'd obviously played against but not actually with, sent me a lovely letter to congratulate me on a fantastic career and that achievement. And it meant a lot to me at the time from somebody I didn't know personally. So I still remember things like that. It was a great gesture, Alan. I really, really thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Good luck, Graeme.
Thanks, gents.
Cheers.
Big thanks to Graeme Alexander, the Bradford City boss. Up next, with Ollie Watkins frustrated seemingly with things at Villa Park, has he been mistreated by Unai Emery? Alan will give his opinion after the break.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, weighing up the risk-reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put my side. I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players at risk with an injury like this.
Very good morning to you. It is 7:35, Thursday, the 31st of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online or with a few clicks. They make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling. Former Newcastle boss Alan Pardew is with me. I've got on the topic of Newcastle parts, an interesting question. Rye from Derby says, question for Alan. Looking at the situation at Newcastle, is there any chance that Eddie Howe could walk away from the club?
Well, my gut reaction to that would be no. I mean, you know, they've invested heavily, the board there, to finance the success that Eddie's had. He's done a brilliant job, by the way. So it's gone hand in hand. It takes two to tango, and the board have backed him. I don't think this issues they're having at the moment is anything to do with the lack of finance or the lack of backing from the board. So I don't think he feels uneasy about that. I think this is purely Isak wanting to move to Liverpool, and this is causing a major upset. And I think they probably have tried to give him a new contract, and it's not worked out. And now they're at a sort of impasse about where this is going to go. I personally think he's going to move. That would be I think he's going to go. And if I was Eddie, I would be concentrating on where I'm going to pitch that money that I'm going to receive from Isak to make the team better, which is going to be difficult.
Because you can't throw your toys out of the pram every time a player does something that you don't like.
No, absolutely. And these are the tests you get as a Premier League manager, wherever you're at the top of the league, in the middle or at the bottom. You're going to get tests, and Eddie's getting tested here by one of his main player. And the problem, I remember Alex Ferguson talking about Ronaldo. I said to him, I was in sort of, I don't know, it was a game just before he was about to leave. And I said, how are you going to replace him? He said, well, I'm not going to be able to replace him. There's no one who can do the numbers, right? And Isak would be exactly the same. He's not going to get anyone who can do those numbers that Isak can do. So, you know, you're going to have to spread it around and buy two players. That's what Fergie did. I think he said, I'm going to buy 2-3 to try and replicate what he does within the team unit, and that's what Eddie's going to have to do.
Yeah, next challenge for Eddie Howe. Good morning, Jeff and Alan, says our anonymous texter. Grumpy Jeff is back on the airwaves. Normal service has been resumed. Welcome back, mate. Good to hear your voice and bringing some real grumpiness back.
That's a bit harsh, Jeff. Yeah, that's a bit harsh. You're not grumpy.
I'm Mr. Happy normally, but yeah. People think because I'm a little bit opinionated sometimes that counts as grumpiness, but it's not. Put your name on the text next time. Right, let's move on. talkSPORT live from glorious Goodwood all week. Not going to be another day like yesterday, I don't think, because yesterday we saw the biggest shock in Group 1 history.
And Fielder Gold's bubble may have burst, and Henri Matisse on the far side is fly. Brazilian, but it's Kirat, the outsider, who's going to steal it. Brazilian gets there. That is a shocker.
Yeah, Kirat was only in the race as a pacemaker. For Field of Gold, was 27th at Royal Ascot on its previous win, winning the Sussex Stakes at 150 to 1. It's the biggest price ever in a Group 1 race in England or Ireland. In fact, the horse wasn't even initially in the race, was supplemented later on for a fee of 70 grand. Let's get more on this from talkSPORT's racing correspondent Rupert Bell. Morning, Rupert.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Alan. I'm still trying to work out what the heck happened yesterday. I just wasn't expecting that.
So, look, was it just a case of Richard Kingscote getting it right and everybody else getting it wrong?
I don't think Field of Gold ran his true race at all. According to John Gosden, the engine, as he said, just wasn't there. He had every chance. Kirat did what he was supposed to do. He's a relentless galloper. He's also got good form at Goodwood, if we're looking for a bit of hindsight. But to do that against a horse who demolished the opposition recently at Royal Ascot, you were thinking, no, this isn't going to happen. But it was Richard Kingscote during the race was saying, when are they coming to me? When are they coming to me? Because he was as surprised as anybody. So I'm just not sure. Rosalian ran a brave race, but they did let them get a bit far away at one stage. But I think you have to just say that Field of Gold just didn't run any sort of race, didn't handle the track. But Kirat, sometimes you just got to say, well, sport does provide major upsets, and this is basically equivalent of a non-league team beating a Premier League opposition in the FA Cup. It's as surprising as that.
I'd have loved to have heard the conversation between the jocks after that race.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the race on TV, actually, and You know, the two got themselves away, and you thought to yourself, "Oh, they'll catch them at the end," but they just never come back really to them. And Field of Gold, as Rupert says, just didn't look in it at all. And you know, when you've got a horse in there trying to be a pacemaker for the winning horse, it's just so unusual. And wow, 150 to 1. Can you imagine? Amazing. The bookies must have been delighted.
Yeah. Oh, absolute field day for them. Yeah. I was listening to you commentate yesterday, Rupert, on the second race, and it's something you just don't get in racing anymore, do you? A dead heat. With all the technology, I didn't think they existed anymore.
Well, they do, and the interesting quirk of that was both horses were trained by Rafe Beckett, who, of course, trained Kirat to win at 150 to 1.
Yeah, he's had a great day.
He had one of those extraordinary statistical days. It was Ryan Moore's mount with Ross O'Ryan on the other horse as well, so a couple of Ryans involved in it. So everything was going on in this particular race. It was actually great to watch, and you thought Ryan Moore had stolen it, but Ross O'Ryan's horse came back for more. So, a quirky race, but actually probably just summed up the day. And Rafe Beckett, I mean, I don't think he's ever going to forget yesterday for what he did. That dead heat at Goodwood, first and second training those two, and then obviously pulling off the shock of shocks with Kirat.
Yeah, a great day. It was a good day for your brother as well, Michael, by the way, who had a nice winner as well.
Yeah, Spicy Marg, a really good horse. And interestingly, ridden by Kieran Schumacher, who, of course, got jocked off Field of Gold when he didn't win the 2,000 guineas. He then won the day after on this horse at Newmarket. And on the same day that Field of Gold gets stuffed in the Sussex Stakes, he rides Spicy Marg to win again. So I think Kieran Schumacher was a very happy jockey yesterday.
The Nassau Stakes, big one today, Rupert. A bit disappointing, isn't it? Only 5 turn out for it. It looks like another Aiden O'Brien benefit, doesn't it?
You would think so. Whirl is the horse in question. Won the Irish Oaks is you would suggest that it's all about them in the big race at 3:05. Whether upsets, as we know, could happen. See the Fire looks quite interesting from Andrew Balding's yard, but the 3-year-old Whirl with the weight in her favour, could be a big advantage. Maybe at a decent price. Keep an eye on the French raider, Cezanne, who did win at Royal Ascot, but as being Upton Trip, the Irish raider just might be a bit of value lurking around. That's Cezanne at around about a 9 to 1 chance might be worth looking at.
The thing I love about Aiden O'Brien is after his horses win, which they frequently do, of course, is that he gives credit to absolutely everybody apart from himself, doesn't he, Rupert? Everyone takes the credit apart from the trainer himself.
And he says absolutely nothing. So and that's the way he gets round it. He always starts with the name of the interviewer. But he always used to call me Hubert. So he'd go, well, Hubert. And then he proceeds to thank absolutely everybody. And then you think, well, any information here about the horse? No, just always thought it will tell you nothing. But I do expect him to win that with Ryan Moore, although I say it is disappointing only 5 runners. For a race with, £340,000 to the winner, the fact that we can only get 5 is disappointing. And of course, Aiden O'Brien winning another Group 1, well, is it a story? It's just predictable. But then racing has proved, thankfully, that it's not always a foregone conclusion.
Hubert, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
talkSPORT racing commentator Hubert Bell there. Right, still to come on breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. From excavators to skips or cement mixers to pressure washers, Travis Perkins Hire has all your landscaping needs covered.
Just days away now for the Lions' final test in Australia. Loads more reaction to the starting lineup to come. It was announced just an hour or so ago, 2 changes in the starting 15. We'll be asking former Lion Ben Kay if the Lions can complete the clean sweep of the Wallabies. Plus, we're asking you to get in touch if you're a fan of the EFL. Give us a call, send us a WhatsApp voice note. How happy are you that your team is not in the Premier League?
We'll be getting on with the game in the Championship and celebrating goals. So up the Saints and up the EFL.
03717 223344 is the number if you want to have your say this morning. AFC Wimbledon manager Johnny Jackson will join the show to preview their first match in League One. It's against Luton Town. Big game for both of those clubs, actually. And that was our look ahead with Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. It's easy to hire at Travis Perkins with a Travis Perkins trade account.
Good morning, 7:49. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew with me through until 10 o'clock this morning. Some of the headlines that you're waking up to this morning. Manchester United maintained their winning start to their US tour. They beat Bournemouth 4-1 in Chicago last night. Rasmus Højlund was one of those who got on the score sheet. Rangers 1-1 draw with Panathinaikos, enough to see them win 3-1 on aggregate. They progressed to the Champions League third qualifying round. It's a pretty good start under Russell Martin. And Andy Farrell's just announced his squad this morning, his Lions squad to face the Wallabies in the third test on Saturday, which you can hear live on talkSPORT. Let's cross to our man down under, Alfie Reynolds, who has all the latest.
2 changes for Andy Farrell for his starting 15 to take on the Wallabies in the third and final test match in Sydney this weekend. James Ryan comes into the second row. That means Ollie Chesham goes back to the bench and James Lowe drops out of the 23 entirely. Blair Kinghorn comes onto the wing and there's a place for Ben Earl on the bench, a 6-2 bench split between forwards and backs for the Lions. So Ben Earl is given another opportunity. And as you say, Jeff, a strong team. And there's no surprise, really. I mean, the Lions have spoken this week about wanting to win 3-0. It's something they haven't done in a series against the Southern Hemisphere opposition for almost a century. They have the history books in their sights. And so no real shock that Andy Farrell has gone with a very, very strong side.
Alfie Reynolds down in Australia before that final Lions test live on talkSPORT. Of course, transfer window very much holding up some big moves still to make. Just a suggestion from Steve, who's an Arsenal fan, Alan Pardew. He said, why don't Newcastle ask for Darwin Núñez in part exchange for Alexander Isak?
Well, you imagine those conversations are not something that Eddie wants to get involved with at all at the moment. So that conversation will be for later in the fee that supposedly gets agreed. I mean, the Diaz deal to Bayern Munich definitely opens the door to this deal. And I think that's a big, big loss for Liverpool. I think he was an outstanding player for them and a great signing for Bayern Munich, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, it is time for this.
Stick a load of singles in there and then they fall in love.
Of course it's hard. It's supposed to be hard.
A 36-year-old, you'll have the knockers, you will.
Just because it's offering its teat, do I really have to muscle on that?
Is there anything in your personal life that could be causing you stress, sir?
I'm not a great lover.
Hello, what's your name?
Sarah Louise.
Sarah Louise, fuck, you're up for it, aren't you?
I was in love at the time, that's what I was doing.
At the time. Always brings a smile to our faces, doesn't it? Sam's back in the studio with us. Hi again, Sam.
You all right? Yeah, got some nice potential matchups here. Should we get cracking?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, yes, it's transfer Tinder, and obviously we have full control whether these transfers go ahead. It's a swipe right if you like it and a swipe left if you don't. So we're going to start with Eberechi Eze, 27, 5'8" from London. He's hoping to be the king of someone else's palace after 5 years in South London. Perfect for someone who doesn't mind a little bit of dribbling and seems to have set his distance slider a few miles. No more so than staying in the capital where his heart is, and he's hoping that the Gunners aren't firing blanks and he can head back to his childhood sweetheart. So, Eze to Arsenal for 67 million. Are you swiping right or left?
Oh, look, he's a lovely footballer. A lovely footballer. I mean, Alan, you'll know more than I do about him. Is he a priority for Arsenal?
Well, obviously, I think he has the attributes to be an Arsenal player. I mean, he has such diversity in his play. He can play off the left, he can play through the middle, so he gives them good options. I think it's a possible one, definitely, in my opinion.
Oh, nice. So you're swiping right?
Yeah, well, I'd swipe right as well because I think pretty much any team in the land would take Eberechi Eze.
Yeah, I think he's a nice match for anyone, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. It's a match. Righto, next one. Eze and Visa, 28, 5'7", London. Well, this bee's on the lookout for some fresh nectar. Bear with me on these bees puns, by the way. And a new queen has already tried to turn his head, promising some expensive gifts. Also to note as well, his potential new northern lover has already suffered so many heartbreaks. And this summer, they are desperate to finally find the one. So, Visa to Newcastle for £25 million. Should he be the one to finally say yes and start a relationship with the Toon?
25 million. It's a bargain in this day and age, isn't it?
Well, I would say so. I can't see that one. I don't see where he fits in. I don't think he's a replacement for Isak. Whether he's the backup, would Wiz want to be a backup?
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, nor me.
But he does seem to want to leave Brentford. I mean, I think that's the thing at the moment. And when he looks at the fact that his mate's gone, Brian Mbeumo's gone, would probably
and other players in the past. But, I can't see that one.
Is this movement from Newcastle a little bit of a panic stations if Isak is to go? Are they kind of trying to line someone or something up?
Yeah, I think they're probably trying to give their fan base some good news. I mean, obviously, if you're a Newcastle fan, it hasn't been the greatest of summers in terms of, looking at the transfer market. They have the cup in the bag. It should all be positive, really, for Newcastle this season. I don't see Wissa as a positive, if I'm honest, to go. I just can't see him starting in the team. And I think if I was Wissa, I wouldn't make that move.
Look, I think he'd be a good buy for someone. That is for sure. And at that price, bit of a steal. I know he's 28, but, ready-made package. We know he can do it in the Premier League. I'm just not sure that Newcastle are the right club, so I would swipe left.
Yeah, 2 swipe lefts then. A little bit of desperation maybe from Newcastle. Missed out on 7 potential transfer targets so far, so unfortunately it's a no. Okay, last one up next. Alejandro Garnacho, 21, 5'8", currently resides in Manchester. He's in the process of a messy divorce. He's been forced out of the house and told to find love elsewhere. This one comes with some baggage though, and this Argentine is already sending flirty texts to his new match, but has so far been ghosted. Both know what that is? Ghosted?
Yeah.
Ghosted?
I know what ghosted means, yeah.
Hope that's not speaking from experience, lads. We all know it takes 2 to tango. So Garnacho to Chelsea for 40 million. Are you swiping left or right?
I'd question whether they need Alessandro Garnacho. I think he's a good player.
I think Chelsea's model, he works. Chelsea's model, buy young, and then they when you buy so many players that they don't even get a chance to devalue. They kind of just sit there at value that they're at. So, and he has qualities. I mean, how much disruption that boy causes in the dressing room, I don't know. He's definitely part of that group. That would worry me, but
it's a bit of a red flag, isn't it?
Yeah,
relationships.
Well, of course,
because he's not guaranteed to start at Chelsea.
I actually think Chelsea's environment's particularly brilliant. Actually, so I would say swipe left. Left is no, isn't
Left is no.
Left is no.
So you
left for me.
No.
Look, if I'm Manchester United, I'm trying to get Alessandro Garnacho to stay and prove his value at Old Trafford, because I think he's a good player. I think he'd be positive on the playing front. But, as you were saying, Parts, I don't know what he's like in terms of his influence around the club. But, he's a young man. He shouldn't have too much influence around the club, for goodness sake. So, but as far as a move to Chelsea goes, I'd be swiping left.
Swipe left. Can I ask as well, adding on that, as a manager, sort of Amarin has explicitly told him to leave.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced anything like that? Have you ever had to be as explicit as that to not work with a player?
When I was at Reading, Tommy Burns came in. He signed about 10 players on deadline day, and he put one little group to the side. I was reserve team manager, so I actually took them. I took what is effectively the bomb squad. And it was really difficult. It causes a lot of disruption because the actual players who are there see that as a possible that could happen to them. So they have a lot of sympathy for those players. So there's a real kind of weird feeling around it. I've never really isolated a player. I've wanted players to move on and made it pretty clear that they need to move on. You have to be as adamant as that to get it in someone's mind to work to get away. But it creates a real tension around the training camp, as you can imagine.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Well, there we go. Garnacho, let's see.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, guys.
One we didn't mention there, but John on the Railway has just mentioned it by text. John on the Railway says Nathan Lowe to Stockport is a bigger transfer than Isak to Liverpool. Give us some love, Jeff. Well, you've got some love from me, that's for sure. Dave Challoner thinks he's a good player. That'll do for me.
Yeah.
But I would honestly, John on the Railway, argue about whether it's a bigger transfer than Isak to Liverpool. Sam Queck, thank you very much indeed. Up next, we turn our attention to a great pre-season so far for Manchester United and whether the fans finally have something to get excited about at Old Trafford.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, weighing up the risk reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put myself, I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players at risk with an injury like this.
Remember, England are 2-1 up, heading into that crucial test at the Oval. We'll be bringing you live updates throughout the day. And seven-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and the co-owner of Birmingham City spoken exclusively to talkSPORT ahead of the championship season. In that wide-ranging interview with Troy Deeney, he opened up on Wayne Rooney's time at the club.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for Wayne and what he accomplished. He's one of the biggest players that's ever been on a pitch. And at the same time, I have very high expectations for what leadership looks like. And I really felt like in the time that I had that, we have to give everything we can to the players in terms of our time and energy and our commitment to seeing them succeed.
And for all the latest breaking sporting news, head to our website at talksport.com.
Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling. With me through until 10 o'clock this morning, former Crystal Palace boss Alan Pardew. Well, it has already been a bit of a miserable summer for Newcastle, and according to talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook, it could be about to get worse.
talkSPORT understands United have initiated talks with Leipzig about prizing Chesco away. It's going to take an offer of around 75 million euros, so it's likely United will have to sell players first, but this is certainly one we'll be tracking on talkSPORT for the remainder of the transfer window, and we're told Chesco is in favour of a move to Old Trafford.
So it might be another disappointment as far as Newcastle are concerned, but of course things seem to be looking up for Manchester United. Chesco would join Matheus Cunha and Brandon Mbeumo at Old Trafford. Martin O'Neill says he's not surprised they're able to pull off big signings despite finishing 15th last season.
They should be able to do that if they win one more game. And, we mentioned this again on Monday, what is it, top 8 or whatever the case may be. Manchester United are Manchester United with a history of Sir Alex Ferguson, Matt Busby, all the great sides that they have had during their time and project. You don't have to mention it. You sign for Manchester United because it's Manchester United.
Look, with some potentially good attacking signings, I think, Mbeumo and Cunha. which is great. I'm going to argue, Martin, and say that they're not absolutely good players. They're not absolutely out the top drawer. You know, Alexander Isak isn't going to be going to Manchester United. Victor Gyökeres didn't want to go to Manchester United, so maybe they can't sign players absolutely from the top echelon, but they've signed some good players, there's no question. How concerned would you be, though, about them at the other end of the field? Because they all seem to be attacking options at the moment, Alan.
Yeah, and I think that they have a problem at the back because, you know, he plays with a back three. They got a goalkeeper that makes mistakes. He can be brilliant, but he can, unfortunately, not have the consistency you'd like to have at Man United. For me, I think they should go and get Gahey out of Crystal Palace. I mean, he plays central, he plays left side. He could be the captain. He's a great leader. He's in the last year of his contract. He is available. That's who I would be going for, because I genuinely feel that they need kind of a centre-back that they can really put their hat on back there. Martinez, obviously, injuries, blah, 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 Maguire, but Gay is a different level. And I think when you're Man United and you're at home and it's 1-1, you've got to leave somebody at the back who can deal one-on-one. And that's what Man United have always had, Ferdinand, etc., etc. So this is where I think they have a problem. When they're really pushing, they're vulnerable.
It'd be interesting to see Gahey, fantastic player, but Palace fans, goodness knows what they're thinking at the moment, because all we have to do is talk about their players potentially leaving.
Yeah, well, you know, 2 or 3 of their players. The Eze one's a different one because he has a longer-term contract, but Gahey's a typical, you know, example of a great player that Palace fans really would love to keep. But he's got a year left on his contract. It makes it really difficult for Crystal Palace to not accept a big fee for him.
Manchester United, of course, maintaining their winning start to their tour of the US last night. They beat Bournemouth 4-1 in Chicago. Afterwards, Amarin said that he's already seeing massive improvements from his team.
More than the results, it's the way they are playing. Then I think is really important. People cannot see that, but I think they are playing better also because they are connecting better with each other, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. I think they are stronger. They are faster in this moment. Of course, it's a pre-season. But you can see the intensity is completely different. I can see the data from the minutes are completely different. So we are improving. But again, it's a preseason game. The pressure is going to be so much different during the season. But it's important for them to understand that they can play. The same players can play a different game. And I think today was a good day.
Another good day for Manchester United. Their fans must be optimistic at the prospects next season. Let's get the thoughts of talkSPORT's Manchester correspondent Mickey Gray. Morning, Mickey.
Jeff, how are you doing? Alan, how are you?
Hi, Mickey. I'm good.
Good, mate. And United fans probably are pretty optimistic with the way pre-season is going. But let's talk about who might still be to come through the Old Trafford door. Benjamin Chesco. Would you choose him over Ollie Watkins?
I think if you look at the signings, Jeff, I think they've probably gone for more tried and tested in the Premier League from seasons gone by. If you look at Mbeumo and Cunha, I think that's certainly something that Ruben Amarin's kind of pinpointed, that he wanted players that know what the Premier League's about. So it's a bit unknown if he goes for Chesco. And I agree with you. I think Ollie Watkins will be a better buy. You know exactly what you're going to get. I think Manchester United are going to be a more dynamic team this season. If you look at the signings that they've made, I do agree. And I was just listening to Alan there. I do think they need that stability at the back. And Gay will be an absolutely fantastic signing for them. Whether they've got the funds to do that by the time they can get rid of the players that are going to leave Manchester United is another question. But I certainly I think they're going to be more of a threat, Manchester United, going forward, which is something that Ruben Amarin talked about when he walked through the door. But they've got to hit the ground running. I've watched a couple of their pre-season games, actually. I watched them when they played against West Ham for 65 minutes. They were absolutely outstanding. They still looked a little bit vulnerable at the back, but they made a lot of changes in the last 25 minutes in the game, and it pretty much changed from them. But if that's the Man United we're going to see in the first 65 minutes that I saw, then I think they can be very optimistic. And I'm not talking about finishing the top 4, but certainly they'll cause a threat to anybody in the Premier League.
I mean, obviously, Mickey, you'd see a lot of their games last year, you know, 17 games they lost or whatever it was. You know, I think... the only way really is up for them. And the pre-season's seems to have gone well. Amarin was obviously, you just heard him talking them up there a little bit. I think that's really where they need to be, isn't it? I mean, they have to kind of turn last year's negative into a positive in terms of going forward. And, you know, and as you say, at the top of the pitch, that energy that he had at Sporting Lisbon, Amarin, which he created there, is definitely starting to appear, isn't it, in this particular team?
It is, Alan, 100%. And I think Ruben Amarin knows himself that he must feel under a little bit of pressure to get off to a good start because of the performances from Manchester United last season. They put all their eggs in one basket to try and win the Europa League. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get over the line against Spurs. So he'll know how important the Premier League is this season. They've got no distraction of European football. And I think those first half a dozen, maybe 8 games of the season are absolutely key for Manchester United. They're not going to have the easiest start against Arsenal, obviously, but the players that come through the door have got to bed into that dressing room. They've got to bed into that new squad and bed into the system that Ruben Amarin wants to play. And if it is going to be dynamic football, then those players have got to be 100% fit and ready to go from that first whistle of the first day of the season.
Mickey, another one of your former sides, Sunderland, pulled off a coup, really. Bayer Leverkusen skipper Granit Xhaka signed for them. The former Arsenal midfielder spoke to the fans on social media for the first time yesterday.
He was incredible, Jeff. What a signing. What, £17 million? You think about the experience that he's had in the Premier League already. I think there must have been a lot of sides after Granit Xhaka. So to get him through the door is absolutely brilliant because it's an inexperienced team. I know they've made a lot of signings this season, Sunderland, but how many of them are going to be playing in the first team is yet to be seen. But I think with the experience that Xhaka's got, just sitting in front of that midfield and in front of the back four is going to be absolutely key because they need to get off to a good start. I say this about every side that gets promoted from the Championship, and we've seen it over the last 2 seasons because of the problems that they've had. You've got to get points on the board. Alan, you probably know this yourself as well. It's about getting points on the board, getting a bit of confidence into that dressing room. And if you can do that, then you've got every chance of staying in the Premier League because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously that fan base will get them over the line in certain games. They're unbelievable up there, the noise and the passion that they get. I mean, Xavier into there is a worry for me. I mean, disciplinary-wise, you know, he's used to winning. They've had an unbelievable run at Leverkusen, you know, winning the title, etc. I know last year was not as successful, but still a great season. Losing every week with the way he plays and the kind of tenacity that he shows, I would expect to see him going off the pitch a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You know, his discipline has been questioned over the years, hasn't it? Certainly we saw that when he was at Arsenal, you know, throwing his shirt when he was coming off the pitch. He fell out of love with the supporters, but then they fell back in love with him. But I suppose that's down to the manager and it's down to the player himself, is to say, look, you know, we can't afford to be playing games in the Premier League with 10 players. You have to be disciplined. You've got to be kind of assured of yourself. But for me, he's got to be that experienced head on the pitch. He's the one who's got to organise the team because, as I mentioned before, they're a very young team. Yeah. And, you know, the final, the players that played in the final, there was no Premier League experience whatsoever. So I think Regis Sabris, they've gone out, they've gone for experienced players, and they need them. You're going to need them in the Premier League when the chips are down and things aren't going your way. You've got to try and find another way of winning football matches.
Mickey, thank you very much indeed. I think he's a brilliant signing. Played 49 times last season for Leverkusen.
And I think it'll be even more important in the dressing room, actually, because even in the staff, you know, the experience they're going to need for the Premier League, he's got it. And he's going to know, like, when you're sitting in there at half-time and you're 2-0 down, maybe to Man City at home or something, you got to have a solution. You know, you got to find a way. And in his experience, will guide them on that.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed, Pards. This is talkSPORT Breakfast, 8:15. Good morning to you. It's 8:19, Thursday, July the 31st. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. It was the Beatles with Drive My Car. Somebody who won't be driving his car, anybody else's in the foreseeable future is Luke Littler. Obviously superstar when it comes to being at the hockey, but very much human when it comes to passing driving tests. We've all been there. He's posted on social media. He's unfortunately failed his driving theory test not once, not twice, but 5 times.
Wow.
That takes some doing, actually, because, forgive me, in my generation, we didn't do a driving theory test. We just drove. You know, we passed our test and drove.
I have taken that test, by the way.
The theory tests are pretty straightforward, aren't they?
Well, I don't know about that. Because when I decided later in life to take a motorcycle license, and you have to do the same test, right? You have to redo it. And they give you scenarios where it's like, you know, choose your options here, or what's danger signals, and it can be a little bit confusing. You keep pressing everything's a danger. You know, a little bird flying across, you think, oh, do they mean that? So I can see there's some issues there. But 5 times, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Luke. And he's surely got enough money where he can get an expert in and talk him right through it.
Look, let's see how good you might be.
Oh, here we go.
Here's an easy one-ish first. When can you use your horn?
When can you use your horn? To signal... To signal to people, to danger.
Yeah. I mean, the better question here is, when can't you use your horn?
Oh, I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Well, it's 11:30 at night to 7 in the morning in a built-up area, unless another road user poses a danger.
Oh, so we can have sirens going up and down like you get in London all the time, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, blaring away, but you can't use your...
Okay. You're in danger of becoming grumpy. It's obviously catching.
Yeah.
Next one, Alan. When can you park on the right-hand side of a road at night? And I've got 4 options for you.
Okay.
When you're in a one-way street, when you have your side lights on, when you're more than 10 metres from a junction, or when you're under a lamppost.
One-way street, I'm going for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One-way street, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to leave your side lights on all night, would you?
No.
That's for sure. No. So 2 out of 2. Well done, mate. Absolutely flat. Yeah. You'd have cruised that. You'd have cruised that theory test. Luke, if you're listening, Alan Pardew's your man.
Yeah.
He can talk you through it.
10 grand.
Very reasonable fee.
Yeah, 10 grand. Just drop me 10 grand. I'll come and talk you through it, Luke.
Right, time now for the latest odds with Coral and Sam and Claire.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
A bit of Oasis. Morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Alan. Yes, I was at Wembley last night. The producers obviously knew that, but they were very good.
Yeah. Brilliant. I'm surprised you weren't still celebrating with champers at Goodwood after the 150-1 winner. I mean, goodness me, what a result for the bookies that is.
Oh, it was massive. Listen, just a quick shout out for your fantastic studio. I've just been looking at you there with your spinning ball and the talkSPORT stadium in the background. For those people listening on radio, it's not quite as good as if you're watching it on YouTube, but very impressive. Is it cozy in there, guys?
I didn't know we had a spinning ball until you mentioned it, and I've just looked over my shoulder to see it.
There it was.
It's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a spinning ball. Yeah.
Moving up the ball. But listen, yesterday, Kirat, genuinely, for people who maybe don't follow racing closely, it's probably one of the biggest shocks in British racing history, to be honest. This is Group 1 race for the Sussex Stakes, so the top echelon of British racing. And there's never been, as far as we know, I know the ITV team was scurrying around trying to find the record books. There's never been a 150-1 winner in a Group 1 race in Britain, certainly, that I can remember, anyone can remember. And he was supposed to be the pacemaker for the superstar that we thought was Field of Gold. And throughout the race, as you're watching it, there was an Irish horse, actually Serengeti, for Aiden O'Brien, who was also acting as a pacemaker for their horse, Henri Matisse. And suddenly, with about a furlong to go, you realise that Field of Gold was not going to run his race. He was flopping. And Rosallion with Sean Levy set sail to try and catch Kirat and couldn't quite get there. And he put his hands up and felt that he could have, if he'd realised Kirat actually posed that threat, would have started his run earlier. And so... genuinely, everyone at Goodwood, everyone watching on TV, everyone listening to talkSPORT Radio, and Rupert and Lizzie, I think their jaws were on the floor. I mean, I know what's remarkable is people did back Kirat. We had about 1,500 bets on Kirat, small stakes from people having a chance in their arm, and one bet of £50 in a Didcot betting shop. But I mean, huge shock, no question, Jeff Allen.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. The Sporting Life is saying that it was the longest price ever Group 1 winner in England or Ireland. So let's change sport a bit. Test match gets underway today down at the Oval. 5th test. The series is still alive. India can still get a draw out of this series. Does the absence of Ben Stokes from that England lineup, has that affected the betting at all, Simon?
Well, it would do by the fact that actually India are also missing Jasprit Bumrah. So I think in some ways, we've got no Arch and no Stokes in the England lineup. But, I say they're always managing Bumrah's workload, and he's key for India. There's also a suggestion that with England just needing a draw in this 5th test match to clinch the series, that the groundsman may have really ensured a nice flat oval pitch. And there's some weather threat. So at the moment, it's 13-8 England, 13-8 the draw, and the outsiders are India at 5-2. But it's been a really close test series. If there's enough play in the game, this Indian side would love to win this match and make it a 2-2 draw. So I think it's going to be well worth following. But the odds just favouring England closing out the series and winning it.
Yeah, I was just reading that maybe this pitch will be a bit greener than the rest have been during the course of this series, and that might favour the Indians. So I think that's a pretty big price. You'd be watching out.
Exactly. I think it should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going on Sunday, so before I do the show with Majestic, I'm going to pop in and see the first sort of 2 series of play there. But I mean, I think this has got draw written all over it. How we're going to bowl India out, I have no idea. I just can't see us bowling them out the way they dig in. So I think it's an India win or a draw for me.
A couple of footballing asks for you, Simon. Manchester United, great pre-season so far for them. Where do they sort of figure in the Premier League betting at the moment?
Good question, that actually. Yeah, they're a side, obviously, a desperate season last year. I'm just having a quick look now. I mean, to win the whole thing, they're 33-1. But I suppose where the United fans will be really interesting is that top 4 betting, that Champions League place. Yeah. They are still bigger than most. They're 4-1 for a top 4 finish. They're similar price to Villa and Spurs. That's probably, I'd say, United fans might fancy their chance, certainly, of finishing ahead of Spurs. Behind Newcastle at 7-4, 7-4 Newcastle. If they lose Isak, maybe that looks less tempting. So I mean, I suppose United fans, that top 4 at 4-1 might be where they're focusing their efforts. I mean, I know it's a few weeks out for the Premier League, a couple of weeks out. Where's your head at with the Premier League outright betting? We currently make Liverpool favourite. Would you have them as favourites?
Oh, I think they're favourites with their work, and particularly if they get Isak, they'll definitely secure their position. But Guy Carrez at Arsenal is an interesting one because for me, he was the signing in terms of a striker of the summer, and they've got him into a very, very good team that creates a lot of chances. And if Eze ends up there as well, I would put Arsenal right in the frame with Liverpool. I don't know where Man City are. They're the kind of, and Chelsea, 2 kind of wild cards. I wouldn't really like to pitch with them 2 at the moment.
I just want to ask you a quick question about the EFL, which obviously gets underway this weekend, Simon. It's League 1 and League 2 get underway this weekend. I'm not going to put you through that, but when the Championship starts, who will kick off the season as favourites?
Yeah, it's interesting. Funny, Birmingham, Coral have become the betting partner of Birmingham City, which is fantastic with Tom Wagner in charge and Tom Brady. The Netflix show's coming out, I think, next week. So I know you were trailing the comments of Tom Brady on Wayne Rooney. They're 6-1 to win the title. The favourites are Ipswich, who play that Friday night. I think it's live on talkSPORT against Birmingham on Friday the 8th. The 7-2 Ipswich, 5-1 Southampton, 6-1 Birmingham, 8-1 Sheffield United, and then 12-1 Frank Lampard's Coventry. It's a great division, that. I mean, Alan, again, do you have a little feeling for who might be the team you'd follow in the Championship to win it?
Yeah, Ipswich, with the manager still there and the same sort of group and the Premier League experience they've had, you've got to have them as favourites. I'm not sure. I don't know what Coventry, where they will be. I still think that they'll get in there and around. I mean, the one thing about the Championship is that you've always got a chance at the playoffs. No matter if you're like third from bottom, you've still got a chance with about 8 games to go. So it's really difficult league to call. Birmingham is an interesting one. What will they do? But no, for me, Ipswich.
Yeah, I think they're on the verge of signing, or may have already signed Hayden Hackney as well from Middlesbrough. Would be a very decent acquisition for them. Simon, thanks very much indeed.
Jeff, could I just give a very quick shout out? My boss Charlotte Emery is actually riding in the Magnolia Cup charity horse race at 12:45 before the first Goodwood race day, so I'd be remiss of me not live on air to wish her good luck. She's turning 60 this year. She fractured her pelvis in November.
Wow.
She only sat on a racehorse for the first time in April, and she's riding a Coral Racing Club horse called Popstar, trained by Alice Haynes in this charity race against 11 excellent female riders, 12 of them going flat out, 5.5 furlongs at Goodwood. So we just want to say, Charlotte Emery, good luck today. You're a brave woman.
Yeah, Charlotte, come back safe and sound. That's the main thing. Simon, thanks very much
Cheers,
indeed.
Alan.
Cheers.
And that was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to Coral 18+, gambleaware.org.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, weighing up the risk-reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put myself, and I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players, at risk with an injury like this.
Very good morning to you. 8:35. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark at the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with me this morning. Right ahead of the new Amazon documentary built in Birmingham, Brady and the Blues, Troy Deeney's been speaking to the NFL legend, now the Birmingham City minority owner, Tom Brady, who's made headlines with his comments about Wayne Rooney's management of the club.
Well, at different times, you always want to give people opportunities to succeed. And I have tremendous amount of respect for Wayne and what he accomplished. He's one of the biggest players that's ever been on a pitch. And at the same time, I have very high expectations for what leadership looks like. And I really felt like in the time that I had that, we have to give everything we can to the players in terms of our time and energy and our commitment to seeing them succeed. And we found that in Chris in our second season, who's done an incredible job as manager. He's been a great leader for the organization. And I'm very excited to see how he continues to build on what he's already accomplished last season going into the new year, because the reality is this year is very different. And 2 years ago was very different from last year. This year is going to be very different from last year. And the work to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish is all about what you're doing today, not about what you did 2 years ago or 5 years ago. It's about what you do today and moving forward every single day.
Yeah, Tom Brady talking with Troy Deeney there, the back page of The Sun today. The headline, Brady Punch. Birmingham's TV doc reveals Tom's fears over ex-manager Rooney's work ethic being harsh on Wayne Rooney, in my opinion. Look, it's been a bumper summer of sport. The Lionesses triumphed for the Open Golf Championship. But a procession in the end, unfortunately, wasn't it? Wimbledon. Sport's been fantastic. And no question, one of the highlights has been the series between England and India, with the fifth and final test getting underway today. Been up and down, handshakes, handbags, injuries, fines. Box office, no question about that. England, though, dealt a major blow with captain and player of the series, arguably at least, certainly from an England perspective, Ben Stokes ruling himself out of the decider with a torn bicep injury sustained in the fourth test. Here's what Stokes had to say.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was obviously took as long as we could to make that decision around that. Obviously a bit of emotion going into this kind of stuff when you find out what you've done. I came down here this morning with, to give himself every chance of seeing if, just to play as a batter. Obviously, bowling was ruled out as soon as we got the scan results. But yeah, I think you need sort of that time chatting with the medical team, Baz, and then almost just 20 minutes to myself out there in the morning just to really be clear around the decision that we made.
No Ben Stokes, then Jacob Bethwell comes into the side. Atkinson, Overton and Tongue also start. India could yet salvage a draw from this series. Let's crest over and say a very good morning to former England head coach, legendary commentator, David Bumble Lloyd. Morning, Bumble.
Yeah, good morning, chaps.
Morning. Obviously, no Ben Stokes. That's going to be the headline from an England perspective. Is he irreplaceable? Best bowler? Century last test? Leader?
Yeah, It's a massive loss for England, and it's almost when you revert it back to India, they're saying that Bumrah is only going to play 3 test matches. He's played his 3, and he's the best bowler in the world, so is he going to play the last one? But I just think that Stokes is irreplaceable, but it's an opportunity for Bethel to come in. They like Bethel, they want to get him into the team, but the other thing to be very wary of, Jacob Bethel, I think since April, has faced 240 deliveries. And he's a cricketer. And so, it's a big ask for him to come walking into the test team 2-1 up and to replace Ben Stokes.
Bumble, I mean, where do you see this final test? Do you think India are favourites? Where would you put it?
Well, I want to see what their team is. Are they going to play Bumrah? And that would be a big miss if he doesn't play. And there's been a lot of kerfuffle about the pitch and who can look at the pitch, who can walk on the pitch and who can't. Yeah. And so, England are 2-1 up, and it'd be a big mistake to, you know what it's like. Do you try and protect 2-1, or do you actually go out and try to win 3-1? If I know McCullum and indeed Stokes, I would think that they're thinking, right, we need to win this test match 3-1. How do we go about it? And they've had wholesale changes because the matches are back-to-back, because we can't go into August. That's when they play the 100. So it's a heck of a demand on the players. So the whole attack has changed.
Yeah, and that's an issue, isn't it, Bumble? I mean, the timing of it. Obviously, no Stokes, no Archer, no Carts. I mean, we'd struggle to take wickets anyway. So how the heck are we going to take wickets without them?
Well, the positive side of that is, the 3 that have come in are going to be fresh. So I understand that aspect of it, but I always look at it as well, that it's a great opportunity for these who might be on the fringe or who might have been out of the team. Atkinson is coming back after injury, and he's one of the best bowlers. And then you think about Chris Walks at 36, who's played all 5 test matches. And so, the thing at the back of everybody's mind who follows test match cricket is, why are we having to play back-to-back all these matches? The answer very simply is because of the 100.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's been a brilliant series, Bumble, hasn't it? Obviously the cricket. The cricket has been fantastic, gripping, dramatic, proving that Test cricket's the best form of the game. But it's all the stuff that goes around it with the England complaints at the end of the last Test, and then the stuff with the groundsman as well. You cannot keep this series out of the headlines.
No, and it's been a grueler, hasn't it? I mean, the pitches have been backbreakers for bowlers and for batters. I think there's been a shift that it's going to be batter-friendly because the chief executives of the venues, they want these matches to go 5 days because they get the finance from 5 days. Okay. So it's been a grueler for the players, and I quite like all these little handbags at football. I mean, Alan's there at football. You can platter him from behind and get a yellow card, and that's the thing done with. But at cricket, it's non-contact, so all you can do is a bit of verbals.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Bumble, I thought the England complaints at the end of the last Test were an embarrassment. But equally, I thought the India complaints over the groundsman at Oval were an embarrassment as well. Look, one thing we're going to miss, one thing I'm going to miss from this final Test, no doubt about it, is no Rishabh Pant. Now, I'm guessing you're a fan.
Yeah, massive fan. I mean, he's a great bloke, apparently. When you see the discipline of the batsman, the Indian batsman, the discipline of leaving the ball and the beautiful stroke play, and he comes in, and that's all goes out the window. He's going to play off his backside. He's going to spin round in the air. He's going to change hands, left hand, right hand, left hand, and he breaks the mould. So he's an entertainer. He's great to watch, and apparently from the England players, he's quite fun out there in the middle.
Yeah, look, it's so important to have a Test series like this, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, England have got to come away with a win. They've got to win this series and go into Australia with great heart. But, I'm with you. He's been handbags like you've never seen. And it's like the schoolyard stuff that my dad's bigger than your dad.
I mean, it sets it up nicely for the Ashes. I mean, where do you see us in the Ashes? Where are you pitching this England team?
Well, just in cricket terms, England have got a great chance. But I also chuckle because of all the shenanigans that's going on.
Exactly.
Australia, they've joined in as well. They've piled in Australia about England this and England that. So it started already.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it, Bumble. Very much looking forward to it. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you,
Cheers,
Jeff.
Bumble.
Former England head coach and absolute broadcasting legend, David
absolutely.
Bumble. Oh, no, I always love speaking to him. Right, let's look ahead to the next hour of the show with benchmarks.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. Get trade prices on kitchens to suit all styles and budgets at Benchmarks.
Luton against AFC Wimbledon kicks off a new EFL season tomorrow night. It's live on talkSPORT 2. AFC Wimbledon boss Johnny Jackson will join the show next to preview the game. He'll look ahead to the challenge of League One football, and he'll tell us as well why he loves the EFL. And the Lions are after making a bit of history in Sydney on Saturday morning. They aim to become only the second team ever to achieve a whitewash in this series. The last clean sweep came way back in 1927. Former Lion Ben Kay will tell us if they can do just that. And that was our breakfast preview with Benchmarks.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. All our Benchmarks kitchen doors come with a 5-year guarantee. Terms and conditions apply.
A very good morning to you. It is 8:48. This is talkSPORT Breakfast Live. today with Jeff Stelling and Alan Pardew through until 10. Some of the headlines you're waking up to this morning: pre-season in full swing. Florian Wirtz scored his first Liverpool goal against Yokohama. Manchester United won 4-1 against Bournemouth last night. Newcastle's miserable summer continued with a 1-0 defeat to the K-League All-Stars. Joe Willock carried off worryingly with an injury in that game. Our very own Simon Jordan, surprise, surprise, he went at it with the Daily Mail's Newcastle reporter Craig Hope about Newcastle's summer struggles. Take a listen.
Now the narrative this year is the poor sod doesn't have a sporting director. Which one is it? Yeah.
Well,
there needs to be a happy medium.
Simon, it can be both. Both things can be true. Paul Mitchell
both things can be media nonsense creating division.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say both things are true, Simon.
Part of the media nonsense.
Yeah. No, I'm not, Simon. Listen, you get me on here all the time to talk about my stories because they're true. So, you guys sit there for 3 hours talking about it, so don't come back at me and say it's nonsense. You really enjoyed the Isak story I broke last week, didn't you? So there you go. It's not nonsense. Paul Mitchell. Now, would it have been better if Mitchell had stayed there this summer? Well, probably yes, because someone is better than no one. But was the Mitchell appointment right? No, it wasn't, as I wrote in.
But the point I was making, Craig, was that you guys were spinning the narrative last year that there was a massive division between the sporting director and the manager, and none of you have actually ever done these jobs, but you're so-called experts in it. So the reality is that Eddie Howe is perfectly capable of making decisions without a sporting director on what players he does or doesn't want. What he really wants is access direct to the money, and the money to say yes to his requests.
You call it spinning the narrative. I call it reporting the facts. So there you go.
Interesting, Craig Hope and Simon Jordan going head to head. Look, from Eddie Howe's perspective, does he need a director of football? He's been in the game long enough. He knows his own mind, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he needs one. I never had one when I was there. I seemed to do okay on the transfer side of it. The bottom line is that you can't. The sporting director at the moment, the role is to actually be a conduit in between the owner and the manager. And sometimes that can create its own friction because you kind of sometimes think the technical director is protecting the owner. Why aren't we getting business done? So, obviously Eddie's he hasn't got that in the middle. So he's got a direct line to the owner. They're probably discussing, what this fee's going to be if Liverpool are going to come in, what the moves they're going to make. But at the moment, they are missing out on players. And that is a concern. And where that kind of lies, whether they're not financially reaching levels that other clubs are, or the ambition of the player is to go elsewhere. That's the conundrum that they're in.
Tricky summer so far for Newcastle. Yep. Now, the EFL returns with a full set of fixtures in League One and League Two this weekend, and you can hear it all live on talkSPORT.
Live football, it's what we do best.
Plays it across the face of goal, and it's in! Bradford equalise!
Onto his right foot, shoots
straight
on, it's in! Tento Alambe turns in Jack Diamond's shot, and Stockport are level!
Oh, what a hit! Harvey Mills puts the push ahead!
Luton Town find themselves in the bottom three, back-to-back relegation.
Been here many times before, and I know that this club can get itself back into the Championship again.
Cardiff are relegated to the third tier of English football for the first time in 22 years.
Comes out to the edge of the area. Oh, what a goal! Miles Hippolyte, AFC Wimbledon are back at League One level after 3 years away. To the far post, Talavera! He's headed it in! Incredible! Plays it across the face of goal, and it's in! Bradford equalise!
And only one national radio station takes the EFL seriously, and that's this one.
Adrian Durham, well, he summed it all up there. The EFL is back. We certainly take it seriously here on talkSPORT. People ask about the attractions of the EFL, Alan, and say, it doesn't feed big names through again to the Premier League anymore. For me, that's not the point. The point is that hundreds of thousands of people turn out every weekend to watch the team, which is the heartbeat of their community. It's the only place, an EFL ground, the only place where you can get 5, 10, 20,000 people together every other week with a common interest, and that's why I think it's so important.
Yeah, but it's also important on a number of other levels as well, because the work that they do in the community with schools, the disabled, etc., giving access, trying to be more kind of usable in terms of to the fan. And I think that's why fans appreciate it. You have to work harder in the EFL to embrace your fans, to get them through the gate. So actually, that community comes together and it becomes a real bond. And, you know, that's why the EFL has this real attraction. And I would slightly disagree with the fact that they don't produce Premiership players, because Gyökeres, of course, was only at Coventry 2 years ago. And for me, I couldn't understand why he went abroad. Actually, it was stately obvious to me that he was a top striker. There are still players in there. It bugs me a little bit that Premier League teams do not scout and work a little bit harder at home than they seem to do abroad, where I think the fees are probably less and they take that cheaper option.
Which makes it all the more disappointing that there are so many issues. We haven't kicked a ball yet. Look at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
The owner, Deshfon Chansiri. They're under a 3-window transfer embargo, repeatedly late paying staff. The manager's left. Players are leaving. There could be a points deduction. They've been banned from opening the 9,000-seater North Stand. It could cost them 7 figures to repair. He wants £100 million for the club, won't sell it. And in the National League, obviously, poor old Morecambe, suspended by the National League at the moment until August the 20th. That's 3 days in. They're up for sale. They have been since September 2022. A group called the Punjab Warriors are desperate to buy them, but Jason Whittingham, the owner, will not sell. He keeps on coming up with mysterious alternative buyers. What can we do to stop things? I mean, Morecambe could go out of business. They could follow Bury and Macclesfield down that road. What can we do to stop these sort of things happening?
Well, obviously, we got this, government source coming in to oversee football, at some point. Now, I would suggest the Premier League, when you look at it, okay, you could argue there's some things that are not great about it. But in general, it's probably one of our biggest exports. It's a massive success. But when you go down to the EFL, there's all sorts going on. And these two stories are particular relevance of where the administrator, or wherever that is going to be called, from the government, needs to get involved and kind of police it a little bit and have some sort of rules in place that these owners can't kind of stampede over these community clubs. And when you say, I know for a fact, and I think of the example of Derby and Reading in particular, where owners have stuck to their guns. They're not paying people, they're not running it properly, but they won't put it at a price which actually is sellable. It's like way overpriced. They want this, they want that, and then they get stuck. And of course, once you're stuck in that spiral, it's very, very difficult to get out of.
I mean, the issue really is when clubs are in the ownership of one man.
Yeah.
That's all the power lies with one man. I don't know how you construct an industry where maybe there's a bigger percentage of fan ownership. I mean, obviously they do that in the Bundesliga.
And in Spain.
In Germany and in Spain, which gives them some form of protection, I would guess.
That's right. And maybe that's something that we need to look at. But, as you say, the kind of presidential ownership of a football club makes them very, very vulnerable. And I remember the owner, the Russian owner who went into Reading, when they really looked at him, they went through due process, diligence, etc., etc. He had no money. He literally had nothing to his name, and he had the ownership of a football club, of a community, of a club he knew nothing about. So it was very, it puts clubs in very, very difficult positions to be able to get out of as a community club.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are calling for, obviously, and I would agree with them, a much, much tougher owners and directors fitness test.
Yeah.
But the problem is for clubs like Morecambe, with all due respect, and I got a lot of time for Morecambe, it's not a hugely attractive proposition for us. They're not queuing around the block to buy a club like Morecambe. We've got small crowds, not much money, a lot of competition, from the bigger clubs in the Northwest as well. So it's
and even your club, Hartlepool, there's issues, over the ownership. Is he going to sell? Is he going to, whatever? Is a new consortium coming in? So this is happening all the time at that level. And I think, from my experience in the EFL, particularly Championship League One, you get these buyers who presume that they can take over a town's football club, the community. Not really focused too much on that. They think they're going to get to the Premier League, They think that with enough investment or the sort of certain ambitions and the way they run it, with their kind of egos getting massively in the way, that the dream is the Premier League, not building the football club as as like, for example, Ipswich have done, where they've, you know, ingrained themselves in the community and grown as a football and got to the Premier League. That's a different kind of model, and I think that's a model that clubs should be looking at.
Yeah, terribly difficult as far as Morecambe are concerned. I really do wish them well.
Yeah.
And Sheffield Wednesday as well, because I've got memories of the Chris Waddles and the Paolo Di Canios and the David Hurst.
Well, you should try playing there or managing there.
Oh.
It's a difficult place to go. Yeah. Really difficult place to go. And as you say, when people are not paid, it's just, you know, it's just fundamentally wrong, that.
We wish Sheffield Wednesday and in particular Morecambe well in their battles in the coming weeks. I mean, it's a battle for survival as far as Morecambe are concerned, no question about that. Very nearly 9 o'clock. This is talkSPORT Breakfast.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, you know, weighing up the risk reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put my side. I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players at risk with an injury like this.
Remember, England are 2-1 up, heading into that crucial test at the Oval. We'll be bringing you live updates throughout the day. And 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and the co-owner of Birmingham City spoken exclusively to talkSPORT ahead of the championship season. In that wide-ranging interview with Troy Deeney, he opened up on Wayne Rooney's time at the club.
I have tremendous amount of respect for Wayne and what he accomplished. He's one of the biggest players that's ever been on a pitch. And at the same time, I have very high expectations for what leadership looks like. And I really felt like in the time that I had that, we have to give everything we can to the players in terms of our time and energy and our commitment to seeing them succeed.
And for all the latest breaking sporting news, head to our website at talksport.com.
Yeah, very good morning to you. It is Thursday, July the 31st, 5 minutes, very nearly 6 minutes past 9 o'clock. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online, or with a few clicks, they make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling, former West Ham manager. Alan Pardew is with me. Just a text from Chris, who's a Sunderland fan. Puts a few things into perspective here, actually. April 2022, Sunderland played Morecambe on the final day of the regular league season. Results elsewhere enabled Morecambe to survive and Sunderland qualify for the playoffs. 39 months later, one side has spent £130 million by June. The other is on the brink of extinction. Football is broken. A sad story to hear about any club. Chris, thank you very much indeed for that. West Ham played in a friendly last night as well. Of course, Manchester United beat Bournemouth by 4-1. A bit of a worry if you're a Bournemouth fan. Fulkrug and Paqueta are on the score sheet, though, for West Ham against Everton. I think two players who not everybody was convinced, and not everybody is convinced, will even be at the club by the start of the season. What are the sort of biggest challenges you think Graham Potter faces?
Well, I think the key sort of challenge is Paqueta. What is he going to do? Is he going to stay at the football club? He offensively is such an asset to West Ham. He's a player that West Ham have always attracted, who can always produce a magic moment, and for their fan base, be a massive blow for him to go. I think the way Potter manages is somebody I know well. The way he wants to create at West Ham, I think he's got a big challenge on his hands there. It's not looking great at West Ham in the transfer window, what they've done. And, when you look at Everton, David Moyes' comments from last night really are concerning. Yeah. I mean, it's not very often a Premier League manager will come out and say, we are in big trouble at the window already. There's still a month to go.
Yeah, I mean, what he said was we're struggling to get deals over the line.
Yeah.
And time is running out.
And they're going into a new stadium, the pressure of that, etc., etc. I mean, if I was an Everton fan, I'd be as concerned as if I was a West Ham fan.
Because you're saying that the majority of the players that he was looking at and has tried to persuade them to come to the club with their brilliant new stadium all want European football.
Yeah, this is a concern. And, I've been in that position at Crystal Palace and at West Ham as well, where the top clubs are all manoeuvring and working where their targets are, and you're looking at all the pieces and you're trying to kind of foresee where it might fall for you. And actually, sometimes it takes a lot longer for those top clubs to sort themselves out and for the pieces to fall your way. And that's where those two clubs are currently sitting, and it's a very uncomfortable place to sit.
Yeah, very difficult position to be in. Now, one of the hottest prospects in Europe at the moment is Benjamin Chesco. It looks like Newcastle and Manchester United are going head-to-head with each other for his signature. Fresh off the back of beating Bournemouth over in the States earlier this morning, United boss Ruben Amarin was asked if Chesco could be on his way in.
No, the important thing is that Rasmus is scoring goals, is connecting really well with the team, is improving. So, again, guys, I don't know what is going to happen until the market is closed. I'm really happy with the players that we had last season. They are improving. We look like a different team today. Let's continue with that. I'm really happy with Brian and Mateus, even Diego, and you can see it. He's a smart guy for a guy that came from Paraguay to come to Premier League. He's really powerful, so I'm really happy with the three guys.
So Ruben Amorim happy with the way things are at the moment. He'd probably be even happier if he could get someone like Chesco through the door. Let's talk about that, shall we? We're joined now by our man in the know, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Morning, Crookie.
Good morning.
So it looks like a bit of a tug of war, doesn't it, for Benjamin Chesco? I mean, he's only 22 years of age. Newcastle and Manchester United are the two suitors, or so it seems. What's the position? Where is he most likely to end up at, if at either?
Yeah, I mean, there is still a possibility that he stays at RB Leipzig, but as you say, big interest from those two Premier League clubs. I understand that Newcastle presented their project to Chesco and his camp last week. They're now fearing a hijack from Manchester United, and we broke the story exclusively yesterday afternoon on talksport.com. United has sent a delegation to Germany, partly, I think, to try and see if Borussia Dortmund would take Jadon Sancho back to club, but also to try and get this deal for Chesco done. I think they will have to sell players in order to finance it. Maybe Sancho, maybe Anthony, the likes of Tyrell Malacia on the transfer list as well. And obviously Alejandro Garnacho, probably of that quartet, the player who would fetch the biggest transfer fee. But this shows, despite what Ruben Amorim has said there, I think the shortage of goals was a major concern last season. They've addressed it with the signings of Cunha and Mbeumo. They still want a number 9. And really, Benjamin Chesco is the last cab off the rank, isn't he, with Victor Osimhen off to Galatasaray, Ekitike to Liverpool. Number 9s are in short demand, as we've spoken about. Victor Gyökeres has obviously gone to Arsenal. But if he does go to Manchester United, where do Newcastle turn next? It will be another big blow for them.
Yeah, I mean, I worry for Højlund because, you know, when I think back to when he come in, they were saying exactly the same things they said about Chesco. He's got pace, he can score great goals, blah, blah, blah. And now, of course, they have him as their lone striker. Where will he fit in? If Chesco comes to the club, what will happen to him? Would there be a knock-on effect for him to move on, or does he stay and fight it out with another young striker?
Well, I've always got the impression this summer that if a club were willing to pay money for Rasmus Højlund, then United would do business. But you have to remember the transfer fee. They forked out £72 million. That looks massively overpriced now. They wouldn't get that back. There is some interest in Italy, but at the moment, my gut feeling says that Højlund will stay. But I think he needs to be taken out the firing line. I'm saying that a few hours, of course, after he scored the friendly against Bournemouth. And I have to say, I watched the friendly against
and actually, Amarin talking him up. You know, Amarin was like, you know, he's been brilliant, blah blah blah, which he's going to do. I mean, that's a given.
Of course.
I mean,
yeah, but I watched the friendly against West Ham, Pars. Now, I did think he looked a bit fitter. He looked a bit sharper. He had a big chance very early in that game that he blazed over the crossbar. But I think he knows this is a massive pre-season for him to prove to Ruben Amorim after a very underwhelming campaign that he can have a role in his first team. But to say the big issue for United last year, defensively they were fairly sound. It was the goal scoring, wasn't it? And that's why, you know, they brought these 2 number 10s in, and that's why they are looking for a number 9. And Benjamin Chesco seems to fit the bill. It's a gamble. He's not proven in the Premier League, but he's got a little bit more experience than Rasmus Højlund had when he came to the club.
Well, there is still one cab left on the rank, though, Crook, isn't there? And that's Ollie Watkins. If Villa feel they are required to sell him, and if he wants to move on, would he be of interest to Newcastle?
Potentially. I think he's on their list. So is Nicholas Jackson. I don't see Newcastle paying £80 million for Nicholas Jackson. I think that would be too high for anybody. Watkins is an interesting one because if you look at his age, if Villa did get an offer in excess of £50 million, I think they would have a big decision to make. But who replaces him? Because they've already sold John Duran. You saw his importance to the team last season in terms of their own Champions League quest. So I think it'd be a difficult one. The message we're getting from Villa is that he's not for sale. I would suggest every player has his price. But yeah, I think he would come into Newcastle thinking if they miss out on another target in Chesco.
A quick word on Alexander Garnacho. Is there still a possibility that he'll end up a Chelsea player?
Yes, I think there is. Obviously, Chelsea signing Xavi Simons, a lot of people thought maybe that would close the door on a move for Garnacho, but I'm told the sporting director, Paul Winstanley, is still very keen to bring Garnacho to Stamford Bridge. I think ultimately it will come down to finances. In January, United were looking for £50 million. I think they would accept 40 now. Chelsea probably will want to pay nearer 30. So some negotiating to be done. But they're well stocked in wide areas, Chelsea. But this is an itch they seem determined to scratch.
Crookie, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.
Crookie.
Cheers, guys.
talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook there. Up next, could Bournemouth be in danger next season if they don't get some players in the next few weeks? That's next. Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. We're here until 10 o'clock on the eve almost of the start of a new football season as the EFL gets underway tomorrow. A lot of clubs in the Premier League still got work to do, haven't they? And I'm looking past them plenty. We mentioned West Ham, Everton. Obviously, David Moyes has come out and said that. Newcastle, you would say as well. And Bournemouth, lost a couple of big players in Dean Howson and Milos Kerkez as well, and haven't spent big.
No.
Have you got any concern for them?
I have, because that it's very hard to repeat like a season like they had, and as you say, with those, particularly the centre back, was outstanding. They've lost some really key players. The difficulty for them is holding on to their manager. If there was a sack-in early in the Premier League season, he's going to be top of the list of most clubs, I would have thought, after the job he's done there. So, there's a lot of kind of things that could go wrong for Bournemouth. Yeah. They certainly got to do some work in the window.
Yeah, same thing might apply to Palace as well, because they'll want to be careful that they hold on to their manager.
Yeah, he's only got a year left on his contract, I think. So, yeah, they're vulnerable at the moment with that. So, and he had noises too, like David Moyes. Same thing. He hasn't got really experience of a window in England, a summer window, and he's frustrated that he hasn't got anything over the line, and the Palace manager, and as I say, that middle section of the Premier League, it's difficult.
Right, throughout the morning we've dived into the EFL ahead of the return tomorrow night. Clubs preparing to kick off their seasons. All's not well with clubs like Sheffield Wednesday and Morecambe, who of course are National League this season, theoretically at least, who are in deep trouble. Now, with clubs like Reading, and if you go back a bit further, Bury in recent years, why are so many EFL clubs struggling without major investment? Here's football finance expert Kieran Maguire to explain why.
The biggest problems we have in the EFL is that at least 90% of clubs are loss-making. And therefore, you're either reliant upon owners to dig the club out of those losses, or you're hoping for some form of a windfall. Could be through a player sale, could be through a cup draw, but those are very much erratic and volatile in terms of their nature, and they're certainly far from being guaranteed. If we take a look at the Championship to start off with, the average losses in the Championship are not shy of £400,000 a week, but you've got owners that want to compete with the clubs that have just been relegated from the Premier League. Those clubs are in receipt of parachute payments of up to £45 million a year. And therefore, the owners of the likes of, say, Bristol City or Millwall or Preston, some of the stalwarts of the Championship, you can take Stoke City as well, they're having to dig their hands into their pockets on a weekly basis or a monthly basis to keep the lights on and to keep the wages being paid. Even at League Two, the vast majority of clubs are losing money. Now, they're losing far less money. But even so, if you're losing £500,000 a year, somebody's got to go and find that £500,000. We've seen in the case of Morecambe, who were relegated from the EFL a couple of months ago, they were already in pretty grim financial position, and that's manifested itself over the summer as well, with the deterioration in the club's position to such an extent, of course, now that it's not able to fulfil its opening fixtures as far as the National League is concerned.
Yeah, really worrying times, staggering £400,000 a week losses in the Championship.
That can't be across the board. That can only be a few. Surely you couldn't sustain that.
Well, even down in the National League, I know the clubs, Kieran mentioned there in League Two, clubs losing £500,000 a year. A lot of clubs losing a lot more than that.
That isn't Rick Parry's in charge of the EFL, right? Is that correct? And
no.
I think No?
I don't. Is Rick Parry still in charge of the EFL? Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, and he's trying to do that agreement with the Premier League, you know, where they get this kind of parachute costs, and they still haven't come to an agreement. And I think that's key because, you know, that does need to filter down a bit, the excesses they're getting in the Premier League to the EFL, and I think everybody would like to see that.
A lot of talk, isn't there, that we have the Championship at the moment, that maybe in the non-too-distant future, and I'm not sure how this would affect things, we'll have Premier League 2. instead of the champion.
Well, that's always been muted. I mean, that was muted when I was manager at Newcastle many years ago. That was a situation where a lot of the Championship clubs. One of the problems you got in the Championship is that you got owners who want to get to the Premier League and they're pushing and pushing and pushing. They got the finance to do that, and the others are, as you say, are having the fund to kind of compete. It's making it a difficult sort of league, really. I mean, as much as we say it's the best kind of competitive league, financially and ownership-wise, it's a difficult league.
Yeah, a brilliant league, but not a level playing field. No. Look, let's look on the positive side of things, shall we? Looking forward very much to the opening of the League One season. Luton host Wimbledon Friday evening. You can hear it live on talkSPORT 2. I'm delighted to say that the AFC Wimbledon manager, Johnny Jackson, joins the show now to look ahead. Morning, Johnny.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Alan.
Morning, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny, that Wembley final must still be fresh in your mind. Well, actually, it will be, won't it? Because it was at the end of May. And here we are. Your first game in League One is the 1st of August.
Yeah, it comes around quick, doesn't it? It doesn't seem too long ago. Going to the end of May obviously means you have a shorter break, quick turnaround. And then obviously they've tasked us with opening up the season as well on the Friday night. So even took another day off us. But, it's all good. It's all good.
How are you looking forward to it, Johnny? You know, you're going to be up against clubs with big money, big crowds. Can you compete?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, listen, this club it's always been pretty much since its formation been the underdog and sort of had to fight against the odds, if you like. And we're going to have to do that again. We know the league we're going into, the teams that we're coming up against. You know, you only got to look at the team we're playing on first up. You know, was in the Premier League sort of. Not so long ago, a couple of seasons ago, they're in the Premier League and we're in League Two, and now we're coming up against them. So we know how difficult it'll be, but listen, we always come out fighting, and that's what we'll continue to do. We're going to have to be the underdog in the fight again, but we actually quite enjoy that.
I mean, I was looking, you know, we was just talking, me and Jeff here, about the ownership of football clubs, and obviously at Wimbledon you got a kind of unique ownership because it's kind of run by the fan base. I mean, how has it worked for you with a window, Johnny, you know, in terms of getting players in and trying to improve in this particular, you know, which is always a large jump between the divisions?
Yeah, the window's been difficult, Alan. It's been quite slow. I think the market's been quite slow generally. But from our point of view, you know, we're sort of relying on the loan market, the free transfer market. So there's not been a lot of movement. You know, you're relying on other teams, Championship teams, who obviously they start a week later. Premier League's 2 weeks later than that, so they're not in a rush necessarily to do their business or let their loanees go out. You know what it's like with pre-season. You want to keep your bodies in and
exactly.
Make sure that you've got enough numbers to get through and stuff like that. So you're sort of a little bit reliant on other teams, and it's taken a while to get some business done. We managed to do 3 yesterday, which was really important and a bit of a boost for us because it had gone. We kept hold of the majority of the squad, which was important, but obviously we wanted to freshen it up as well. And it's been, you want them on the day one, don't you, of pre-season when you get together and you go away. But we didn't manage to do that. But we got a few in the door yesterday, and we want some more.
Was they loans, Johnny, or was they signings?
A bit of both. So we took a loan. We took a young lad from Charlton, obviously, you know, with the connections that I've got there with Nathan and the guys there. They sent us a young lad on loan, and then we've done a couple of free transfers as well. So that's where we're at. That's the market we're in. You know, we're not going to go out and spend any sort of money on a player. We have to see who's out of contract and what the loan market looks like, basically.
Next, steal and borrow is the thing.
It's a different level, Johnny, but Nathan Asimwe was on loan at Milo at Hartlepool, and we were devastated when Charlton took him back because he was absolutely fantastic for us. So I hope he's as good for you. Oh, great. So what did you set yourselves targets? What would be a successful season for you this season, Johnny?
Listen, it's hard to sort of pinpoint that I'm the sort of person and manager, and I'm ambitious. So I want to set it high and try and shake up the division and surprise a few people. The realities are that we have to consolidate and we have to establish ourselves as a League One team before we can start thinking about moving on beyond that. So that's the realities. But it's very difficult to, as a manager, to set your sights on just that. I want to finish as high. One of the things we always talk about at this club is constant improvement. So look, I've done that over the 3 years I've been here so far. We've managed to improve year on year. We've got the promotion now, probably against the odds, and we're going to find ourselves sort of up against it in League One. But I think if we can constantly improve and just try and be better than that we was, and we've kept hold of a lot of the group that I had, I think we can really compete at the level. Are we going to win the league? I doubt it. But we have to try and be competitive and see where that takes us. Really.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's well known to me, the EFL and the attributes. But what is it that really drives you in that league, in those leagues, Johnny? What is it that really drives you on?
For me, I think it's just getting a group of lads together, Alan, that want to work hard every day. Really believe in the messages that you're giving them. It's a bit like you touched on. It's a unique football club that they're playing for. We tap into that. We had a bit of an induction day yesterday to let them know about the history of the football club and the type of club that they're playing for, that the fans are their owners, and how special it is to the people that founded it, really. And we try and tap into that and just try and have that, that Wimbledon spirit, if you like, that underdog spirit. It's us against the world, the siege mentality sort of thing, and get the players buying into that. But trying to get that recruitment around that you're getting good. We want quality players, obviously, but we got to get good lads in the door that are going to run, fight, block, tackle, all the basic stuff that you need to do in any football game before we even start talking about in possession, out of possession. It's the fundamentals for us. It's basically trying to be a Wimbledon player. And if you're involved in the club and you know the club, then they'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. But it is quite a unique, because of the ownership model and the history and what we've been up against. It is a unique club.
And that's the joy of the EFL, Johnny, isn't it? The fact that last season, there you were, League Two, and now your opening game this season, you're travelling off to Kenilworth Road against the side who were in the Championship last season, and, of course, the season before we're in the Premier League. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they give us a nice, easy start, didn't they? Luton away on the telly.
Yeah.
But, for us, what a fixture to get our teeth into. Like you say, they was Premier League not so long ago. And we was League Two, so to pit our wits against them, to find ourselves up against them, and opening up the EFL season on TV, and for our fans, it ain't that. There's longer journeys to come, so it's a good one. We're gonna sell out our end. We're gonna take a load of fans there. I know how much everyone's looking forward to it. So it's nice because all eyes are on us and Luton obviously as well, but. On Friday night, to be, in the spotlight, and my boys deserve to be here. They've earned the right to be on this stage, and now want them to go and express themselves and show everyone that they deserve to be here.
Johnny, great stuff. Thanks for joining us. Have a great season.
Good luck, Johnny.
Cheers, yeah. Cheers, Alan. Thank you.
Johnny Jackson, the AFC Wimbledon manager. Remember Luton against Wimbledon live on talkSPORT 2 on Friday evening. Coming up next, we'll be talking Lions with Ben Kay.
Benjamin Chesco, you've got a decision to make, son. Manchester United and Newcastle have now both got their eyes on the RB Leipzig striker. They're both in need of one as well. Our transfer reporter Ben Jacobs explained some of the pros and cons of each club.
Manchester United has the prestige, the higher wage, but they don't have any European football. Newcastle United is an ambitious project. They want a number one. I think the feeling will be if Chesco goes to Newcastle that Isak will end up leaving for Liverpool. So Chesco will know definitively at Newcastle he's likely to be a starter.
Chesco's now held talks over personal terms with both clubs. So Chesco's got to make up his mind, but someone who already has is Eze and Visa. He's got his eyes set on a move to St James's Park and away from Brentford. He's not been at training with the squad in an attempt to force that move. He believes that this is the last opportunity he's got to play Champions League football. More on the website at talksport.com. Now, it's the first day of the final test between England and India, but the hosts are without Ben Stokes through injury.
Yeah, I've got a decent tear of one of the muscles that I can't pronounce because I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it was, weighing up the risk-reward, and the risk was way too high for damaging this any further than it currently is. Didn't want to put my side. I wouldn't expect to put anyone else, any other of my players at risk with an injury like this.
Very good morning, 9:36. It's Thursday, July the 31st. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark at the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew. Has been with me all morning. NFL legend Tom Brady, who's involved in the ownership of Birmingham's in the headlines today, criticising Wayne Rooney for what he describes as a lack of work ethic. We were joined on Breakfast yesterday by Rooney's former England teammate Michael Owen, and he leapt to defence of not just Wayne, but all English managers.
When we've got a real talented generation of players and a lot of them want to go into management, and there's just very, very few opportunities in our country. All of us, we ever do is let everybody else buy for them. And I just don't get it. And I mean, somebody like Wayne Rooney having to go to America, going to this place, going down to Plymouth, he's desperate to be a manager and he's having to go to all these places. And don't get me wrong, you shouldn't be given things on a plate, but we make it difficult. Our FA make it difficult.
Yeah, but we've seen right throughout my lifetime that being a top international footballer does not necessarily make you a top manager, Alan.
No, absolutely not. And I don't think the FA do make it difficult. They put on, they're written on coach courses. They're not employing managers. Managers are employed by owners. The problem we have in this country is the ownership is mainly from foreign investment. So foreign investment, therefore, gears to foreign technical directors. Foreign technical directors then look at foreign managers. So it makes it difficult to break into the top group, which is the Premier League mainly, and some parts of the Championship. But there's plenty of opportunities, and people like Wayne Rooney, that's where you have to earn your spurs at those lower clubs. I started as a reserve team manager at Reading. So, there's no, if you're good enough, you'll make it. And Wayne hasn't got a job at the moment, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back, and hopefully he'll do well.
Thanks very much, Alan. One boss who certainly hasn't failed is the Lions coach, Andy Farrell. The Lions, of course, on the verge of a whitewash in Australia. It would be the first time that had happened since 1927. That final test match is live on talkSPORT on Saturday, of course. Andy Farrell's made a couple of changes for that test match. With the series already won, Blair Kinghorn replaces James Lowe. On the left wing, James Ryan comes in for Ollie Chesham at lock. Let's talk to a man who's been there and done it. 2005 Lion, Ben Kay. Morning, Ben.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Ben.
Hey, so Ben, final test coming up. A couple of changes. Did you expect more?
Potentially, yeah. I spoke to a few in the Lions party, a couple of the guys that around the coaches that said there wouldn't be changes just for the sake of it. They want to go out and win this series. It was just about how many bodies recovered and how fit the players that have played in the first couple of tests were to take part. Now, Ollie Chessum's moved to the bench, but there were strong rumours yesterday that he wasn't going to be fit to play. So whether that's a decision rather than a selection on his form, whether that's a decision for how long they think he can last. But I like the fact that he's backed the players. You know, it's not about giving out caps and, you know, they've won the tour, so let's make sure everyone goes home with a cap. They want to win this 3-0. They did allow them to relax and enjoy themselves after the series win last Saturday. But I've bumped into a few of the guys around the hotel and they look up for this.
Because I'm guessing, you know, and I'm not a rugby union expert by any means. I saw the second test, absolutely brilliant. If England were to lose in the third test, you know, and it was a last gasp win in the second, if England were to lose in the third test, would slightly tarnish the achievement, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's the British and Irish Lions, so we better say that, or all the Welsh and Scottish and Irish fans won't be too happy. But yeah, if the Lions, look, they've achieved what they needed to do. Yes, of course, you want that whitewash, but it's difficult. You know, the psychology of going out there and getting to that same level, but equally the Australians perhaps overperformed with where people thought they would last weekend. And, you know, people are saying, well, maybe they played their final and didn't quite get over the line. And the fact that they lost it in the last minute will have dented them psychologically. There's also been a huge story here around the final decision for the try, which went to the TMO to check Jack Morgan's clear out before the last pass. And the Australians over here, every newspaper is saying they're robbed. Every TV pundit is saying that it was a terrible decision and the Australians have been robbed. So there's going to be an awful lot of pressure on the match officials, who are the same three, different referee. They've rotated round. But Nika Amashakeli will be under massive pressure the first time there's a big collision at a ruck, which is what happened at the end of the game. But he should be able to deal with that because he's a Georgian referee, first elite level Georgian referee, and he was once stabbed after a game because the fans didn't agree with the decision. So it's not quite as serious for him with the British and Irish Lions and the Australian fans, I don't think.
I mean, I watched that second test. I mean, obviously Will Skelton come into the team. I think he'd been out for injury. That man mountain. I mean, when the game seemed to change when he went off the pitch. Is he that important to them? I mean,
Yeah, well, there was him and Valentini. Now, Valentini's not fit this weekend, which is massive because I actually thought he was their man of the match, even though he only lasted half the game. So that is huge for them. But Skelton has just this presence around the field. He plays his club rugby in France at La Rochelle. And a lot of the Leinster players that are involved with the British and Irish Lions have not very happy memories about his team's nicking the European finals off him at the end of the game. But he is a man mountain. You know, there's literally, I don't think there's anyone that has a bigger presence on the field, but he doesn't tend to be able to go for the full 80. So, look, the Lions will... you know, they won't treat him any differently. You have to obviously cover all 15 players on the pitch, but he certainly made an imprint on a few of them last weekend.
So, Ben, just harping back to that second test, being neutral, were the Aussies rightly said about that decision?
Do you know what? And I was neutral because sort of working for talkSPORT and you know, we wanted as good last weekend as possible. And if this was the decider, there's no doubt it would have been a bigger story and better for the game. And I genuinely was thinking, I sort of hope Australia nick this because that will just make Sydney epic. So I genuinely think I was quite neutral, and I didn't think it was a penalty in the slightest. I think if we look through the game at every single breakdown, we would see similar things that the Australians are complaining about. And actually, the only thing that highlighted it to the referee was the player sort of diving out of it, holding his head. And that's crept into rugby a little bit recently, particularly with the sort of people worried about player safety and player welfare. We are seeing more and more diving coming into our sport, which is what we've always said is something that sets us apart from football, if you like. The fact that, it's a tough game and we don't get people sort of trying to cheat a penalty. But I don't think, if he hadn't sort of rolled out clutching his head, I don't think it would have even been looked at. So for me, it wasn't a penalty. But if you ask any Australian at all, it's a cast iron 100% penalty, and the Lions shouldn't have won.
Brilliant. Ben, thanks very much indeed.
Ben.
It was great drama, that was for sure.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Arsenal player next season. Good morning, it is 9:48. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with me. Let's just put my hands up first of all and apologise because I've got an anonymous text saying, come on, Jeff, so poor. It's the Lions, not England. And it is anonymous, but I can guarantee you it comes from Wales, Scotland or Ireland. One of the three. But you're right.
You might get a few more, mate.
I might, absolutely. But my apologies, I didn't realise I'd called them England, but I did. Some of the headlines you're waking up to this morning. Florian Wirtz scored his first Liverpool goal as they beat Yokohama by 3-1. Manchester United beat Bournemouth by 4-1 in the States. Newcastle's miserable summer continued with a 1-0 defeat to the K-League All-Stars. They lost Joe Willock with what looked like a potentially serious injury as well in that. Don't forget, there's the first ever North London derby to be played outside of England later today. just don't remind Dean Saunders?
They've got a good manager there, Thomas Frank, but I wouldn't have got rid of Ange. I would have given him a chance this year. But saying that, Arsenal playing Spurs in Hong Kong, and you're surprised when you get a load of injuries. The season's only just finished.
Yeah.
And like you know,
it's money, Dino, isn't it? It's cash again.
Yeah, but don't complain when you get injuries. Don't come on the TV saying we've got loads of injuries.
I agree, mate. But it's, you know, it's like commercial now, isn't it?
Yeah, but like you were going on about player welfare. I do agree. It takes 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks. If you've got an injury, 3 weeks it takes you to get fit. So at the end of the season, when you're carrying like little knocks that you've carried and you're playing through it, you need 3 weeks to rest and do nothing so your body heals itself. Some of these lads have got straight on planes and they're playing nonsense friendlies abroad right after the season's finished.
Yeah.
So they end up not having a proper pre-season.
How big a deal is that, do you think, Alan, then? The fact that, I think they've had internationals as well during the course of the summer.
Got a World Cup coming up. I always think that, and obviously I was a player and a manager, coach, etc., so I've done all the roles. You need a rest mentally. Forget about physically. Yeah, Dean's right. Obviously, that you get knocks, etc., etc. But physically, your spirit with your family and just to have some rest time from the constant purge of professionalism and football that's overbearing at times, and criticism from likes of talkSPORT, Sky, and all the other media outlets. So yes, I really feel for the modern player, particularly these 12-month seasons that we're having almost. With the World Club Championship, Chelsea about to give their players not really had a pre-season. Chelsea, they've been working, and then they're having a rest period, and then coming straight back to the season. So that's going to be difficult. I really don't like this Spurs Arsenal in Hong Kong. I think that takes away from that spirit of that fixture. I don't like that at all. I wish they hadn't organised that. But it is what it is, and I'm sure the players will get on with it. It won't be the same competitive manner that it would be if it was North London, I'm sure. But yeah, players do need to have a rest.
Friendly or not, quite an opportunity for Victor Gyökeres to announce himself to Arsenal fans against Spurs. Here's Perry Grove summing up just how excited the red side of North London currently is.
It's excitement. And an Arsenal side probably about, I'd say, 10 years, honestly. Okay. It's because every Arsenal fan has known that we've needed centre-forward. Obviously, haven't got a centre-forward. Then it was a drawn-out process, whether Gyökeres was going to sign or not. I was with Anders Limpar about 3 weeks ago in Bangor for the Arsenal Supporters Club, and he said, don't pay, because obviously Swedish, he knows him, knows of him, he's an Arsenal fan. He said, don't worry,
He'll deliver.
He'll deliver. That was the word missing, wasn't it?
Definitely.
And I think you'd agree, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I think it's the signing of the summer in terms of a striker, because I think he does all the jobs. He runs the channels. He's good into feet. He's finishing off all three actions. The left foot, right foot, head is good. It's a great signing for Arsenal. Really great. Been a lot of noise around it, but they finally got it over the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be a great, friendly or not, Hong Kong or not, it would be a great start for him if he could bag a goal against the arch rivals, wouldn't he?
Put it past him, no.
Is Arsenal spending done? That's the question. Will Eberechi Eze end up there? Palace, they just seem like, the Harrod shop window of football at the moment, if you like. Everybody seems to want to shop there. Will Eze be a Palace player come the start of the season, do you think?
Well, a couple of things with that. Firstly, they're FA Cup winners, so they're going to have players in the shop window. It just goes to show how great their recruitment's been, because Eze was sitting at QPR for God knows how long, and no one picked him up. So they've done a great job on that side. He does a couple of roles for Arsenal. He covers Odegaard, who was out of the team for periods. He plays the number 10, and Arsenal struggled with him out of the team, so he fits that. Martinelli was out of the team, who plays the left side of the Arsenal front three, and Eze plays that position as well. So he puts great cover on those two positions, if not a starter. And that would be the challenge and the question Eze would have for Arteta: am I starting? And that might be a difficult one for him to answer, but it'll be a great signing for them. Will it be done? I understand he has a clause that's running out. And and maybe then Arsenal are waiting for that, and then maybe they'll bid. The one thing you do know about Arsenal, the noise that comes out of it seems to be quite factual. You know, whenever they've chased someone, there has been kind of some sort of.
Well, we've seen it this season. Zubimendi, first of all.
Correct. So there's a theme here, and there's a lot of noise about Eze, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends being in a red shirt, which won't be what Palace want to hear. But you know, if I know Steve Parish, he'll make sure he gets proper dollar for it.
Well, Spurs so far, of course, they brought in Mohamed Kudus. They missed out on Morgan Gibbs-White. What would success for them be like next season? Here's what Gabby Agbonlahor thinks.
Get close to the top 7. Try and break into the top 7. And also, can you give a good fight? Can you qualify out the Champions League group? We've seen Villa qualify. We've seen Celtic. You know, Celtic are qualifying out the Champions League last season. There's no reason why Spurs can't, but they're going to need a lot of help for that squad still, mate.
How do they make the jump out from where they were last season to top 7 in a Champions League season?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I'm a big fan of the manager. He's earned Spurs for sure to get a big role like Spurs are. There's the transfer window has been better. They're targeting the type of players that you would expect. They brought all those young players in last year. I didn't think that didn't strike me as the ambition that they needed. I think they're well set for it. I'll be interested to see how they go. I put them in that sort of same boat as Aston Villa, Chelsea to a degree. What are they going to serve up? And we'll have to wait and see. But I think the signs are good.
Where do you think they still have to strengthen at? Because they haven't, they haven't done that much business in the transfer market. Obviously, a lot of apples seem to be in the Gibbs-White basket, didn't they? And that didn't come off.
Yeah, but I think they're going to move again. I mean, it suggests that they got funds, and I think they got the room with the financial position they're in. So I expect them to make some big moves, Spurs. I do. And I don't think Thomas Frank would have gone there if he didn't think he could get them into the Champions League positions, i.e. top 4. So that's where I would aim if I was him. And I'd want players to do that. The lack of depth is a bit of a problem, I think. You know, outside of their starting sort of 13, 14, I think they need to be stronger.
Yeah, and this is not the Europa League. The standard in the Champions League, whole lot higher. Absolutely. So there are no gimmies for them.
Yeah, well, if you won the Europa League like 3-4 years ago, when the Champions League dropped down into it, you could be more comfortable. But that doesn't happen now. The Europa League is very much on its own, and that standard is way below Champions League.
Brilliant, Alan. Enjoyed your company, mate.
And you, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Don't forget, I'm back tomorrow morning at 6 with Gabby Agbonlahor. Join us then. Adi Oladipo and Simon Jordan are coming up next.